Diego County Board of Supervisors regular and in-home supportive services public authority meeting to order. I would first like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. There are communities in the San Diego region that face unjust conditions and circumstances related to the environments in which they live. The tribal nations of the San Diego region are an example of one community that has historically faced such injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territories and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States. From our cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Diegueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla, we aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experience in undoing the injustices of the past. As a reminder, according to the board's rules and procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or anything that disrupts the proceedings. With that, clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Here.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Fletcher here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here.
Chairwoman Vargas.
Thank you. Here. We will now have Iman Tahahusani of the Islamic Center of San Diego deliver the invocation and follow the invocation. Good to see you again, sir. Following the invocation, Ms. Katie Adams' 5th grade class from La Costa Heights Elementary School will deliver the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Good morning. Let's pray. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the Lord of the worlds, our Creator and Sustainer, in your name we pray. As we start this day, we seek your blessings and guidance. Help us to turn our ears to wisdom, our minds to understanding, and our hearts to compassion. Grant us the strength and power to keep working for the well-being of all people, praying and hoping to achieve peace and justice for all. Almighty God, guide us to the pure conviction, then give us the courage to match our conviction with actions. We pray for peace, not violence, love, not hate, justice, not oppression, benevolence, not greed, unity, not division, humility, not arrogance, and we commit ourselves to not betraying our prayers with actions that contradict them. Let us be for truth, no matter who is for or against it. Let us be for justice, no matter who is the victim and who is the perpetrator. Let us be for hope, no matter what obstacles lie ahead. We pray for the safety and well-being of all people and their properties in our city, our county, our state, our nation, and the whole world. Families in their homes, worshipers in their houses of worship, workers in their workplace, and students in their schools. We pray for our county and its elected officials, that they use the authority given to them to serve the people, all the people, with respect and integrity. Almighty God, help us to be the voice of unity, compassion, fairness, and equality, to honor our human dignity. Help us to recognize the beauty of our diversity while working together for the greater good, creating opportunities for generations to come. Bless us all, our families, our communities, and all those who love, care, and work for peace and justice here and all over the world. Amen.
Thank you. Please welcome Ms. Katie's 5th grade class whenever you're ready.
Good morning. We hope you have a great day. We are now going to say the pledge. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You did a great job. Thank you very much. And I want to say good luck in Sacramento.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to share with everybody that Katie Adams's class is actually going to take a trip to Sacramento in April, and they're going to be advocating for voting rights. So I just want to say thank you for going there and for advocating for everyone to participate in this process. And I also think it's super, super cool that San Diego is actually, in our school district, is really giving our youth the opportunity to learn firsthand about democracy. Hopefully someday you can come visit us as well, okay?
We would love that. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, we are now going to proceed with our proclamations. The first proclamation I'll be presenting to the Black American Policy Association, and accepting the proclamation is Ellen Nash. Hello. All right, so today, here, please join me. Thank you.
How you doing?
Very good. How are you,
I
sir?
met you at my brother's keeper.
Yes, I did. So happy that you're here. Today, I am honored to recognize the inspiring and visionary work of the Black American Policy Association of California. The work that they've done in San Diego is very significant. The contributions to the education and empowerment of our Black communities throughout San Diego County is like no other. Their mission has been really to maximize advocacy and effectively elevate Black representation through policy, economic justice, and within our educational system, as well as civic engagement. BAPAC has been dedicated to educating and informing the public about the importance of civic engagement through voter registration, community recognition, and health resources. Their work has helped build a more inclusive and equitable society in San Diego County. For decades, they've hosted community-focused forums and events surrounding jobs, education, and healthcare, not just for the needs of our Black Americans, but why it's important that our friends and family within the Black community are seen, heard, and uplifted. Within the last year, BAPAC collaborated with local Black leaders, faith leaders, organizations, and business partners to develop a 100-day Black community accountability plan to include research, data, deliverables, and timelines. They have also worked on the creation of a Black Youth Initiative program, including employer development and job placement for 50 young up-and-coming Black leaders, and includes mentorship, job skills, and academic assistance. BAPAC has a vision for our Black community in San Diego by working together, by listening, and by recognizing the importance of Black excellence. The improvements and impact they have is immeasurable. Therefore, as chair of the board of the County Supervisors, we are honored to recognize BAPAC for their commitment to creating a better future for all Black Americans, and we are proud to proclaim Black American Policy Association of California San Diego Day throughout San Diego County. With that, let me introduce Ellen Nash. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Ellen Nash, and I serve as the chair of the San Diego chapter of Black American Policy Association of California. And on behalf of our board, I have here Abina Stevenson, which is our board member. We have Greg Mitchell, which is a board member. We have Aaron Burgess, which is one of our project analyst managers. And we have Greg Mitchell, which is a board member. We would like to thank you. Did I miss anyone? Oh, and Sam Earl, who is our vice chair of BAPAC. He is here as well. And we want to thank you for this wonderful proclamation. And I want to say that everything that's been said in the written presentation is actually, we stand in the shoes, on the shoulders of our own Dr. Willie P. Blair. This resolution and this acknowledgement is accepted in memory of this strong soldier that we stood on his shoulders, and we do everything in his memory. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. God bless you.
The next proclamation will be given by Supervisor Fletcher honoring Jeremy McQueen and the Black Iris Project. Accepting the proclamation will be Jeremy McQueen.
Good morning. As Chair Vargas just mentioned, we really are commemorating and celebrating Black History Month, all it means to our community, and really acknowledging those who go above and beyond and have tremendous impact. And so it's a great honor today to be here to recognize a tremendous artistic leader in our community, Jeremy McQueen. He is an enormously talented story maker who weaves his own experience, his own life experience, the experience of being a Black man with themes of social justice. Now, his path to being an award-winning choreographer and dancer started when his mother took him to a touring performance of Phantom of the Opera as a child. That one experience lit inside him a passion for the arts and started his career of theater and dance. At the age of 11, he started training at the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. A teacher soon introduced him to ballet, and the next thing you knew, he was dancing, cast albums, imagining he was a choreographer, and planning out a future that he now lives today. Jeremy has a BFA from Fordham University in dance. He also trained in the School of American Ballet Theater, San Francisco Ballet, and Alonzo King's Line Ballet. Jeremy had tremendous success in New York, but too often he felt like he couldn't tell the stories he wanted to tell or tell them the way he thought they ought to be told. So in 2016, he founded the Black Iris Project, a ballet collaborative of mostly Black artists telling Black stories. In the summer of 2016, the Black Iris Project held its debut season at the New York Live Art in New York City. Original ballet work rooted in Black history was featured, highlighting a cast of predominantly Black dancers from world-class ballet companies. The Black Iris Project educates audience on how Black history relates to the modern Black journey. It encourages and inspires youth of color to pursue arts, movement, and music as an expressive outlet and as a means for collective healing. San Diego is incredibly lucky that Jeremy chose his hometown for the West Coast premiere of two original Black Iris projects, Wild and A Mother's Right, which will take place tomorrow at the Balboa Theater in San Diego. Now, if you think you might be free tomorrow and you want to go, I got bad news because they're all sold out. So you're going to have to remember him and these performances and catch him next time they are available. But Jeremy, the County of San Diego appreciates your contribution to San Diego. We appreciate your contribution to the arts and culture, and we are proud to present you a proclamation officially proclaiming by Chairwoman Nora Vargas and all the members of the Board of Supervisors on this 7th day of February 2023 that we commend Jeremy McQueen for outstanding service, leadership, and commitments to the residents of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this day to be Jeremy McQueen Day throughout San Diego County. Congratulations. Thank you. Can you say something? You don't want to say anything? He said he just dances, he doesn't talk. So give him another round of applause.
The final proclamation will be given by Supervisor Desmond, and honoring Black History Month. Accepting the proclamation will be Shane Harris and Abdullah Rahim Houdmi.
As many as you'd like. They all made the trip. They all had to park. It's a bring them up. Bring everybody up. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks. Hey, come on. Hello, hello. We need a bigger room. We need a bigger room here today. Well, good morning, everyone. It is with great pleasure to recognize our special guest here today, the Reverend Shane Harris. He's the president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates and Mr. Abdul Rahim Hamid. He is the president and CEO of the National Black Contractors Association, and celebrate together here today in honor of National Black History Month. So February, being National Black History Month, affords us the opportunity, actually it should be year-round, but to become more knowledgeable about our country's black heritage and to honor the many outstanding black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation. In June of last year, we honored the Oceanside North County African American Women's Association for enhancing lives of young females through their mentoring and scholarship programs. And just the past Saturday, we honored the North County NAACP Youth Council for their effective educational and empowerment programs. You know, associations and programs like these in North County create and ensure opportunities for future generations. And I want to honor a couple of organizations that do great work here through Hamid and Shane countywide. 1983, Mr. Hamid, he founded the Black Contractors Association of San Diego. And in 2009, he established the National Black Contractors Association, which has 17 chapters now in 5 states. Mr. Hamid promotes equity, inclusion of black contractors and black workers who were excluded from mainstream public work contracting and construction jobs. His efforts to empower our citizens on the issues of human rights has helped to eliminate the barriers of equality for black Americans and others struggling against racial discrimination and poverty. Hamid established the nation's first Black American federal U.S. Department of Labor and State of California Department of Industrial Relations apprenticeship program here in San Diego County. And I've had the opportunity to visit this site a couple of times. It's fantastic, the work that you've done and what you've built. So he assisted in garnering a $1.5 million HUD grant for the Black Contractors Association members to build the 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art National Black Contractors Headquarters and Construction Apprenticeship Training Center here in the city of San Diego. Reverend Shane Harris, a civil rights leader and a San Diego native, he founded the People's Association of Justice Advocates. It's a policy institute to advance equity reforms in the areas of foster care. We met primarily through the San Pasqual Academy. Reforms in areas of foster care, criminal justice, voting rights, and economic justice for underserved and underrepresented communities. Reverend Harris established this organization to keep Dr. Martin Luther King's dream alive through direct action with a balanced standard of justice for all, no matter what race, religion, creed, criminal record, sexuality, socioeconomic status, gender status, or citizenship. He created it for all. He has advanced important reforms, such as the historic Memorandum of Agreement with the County of San Diego, signed by both parties in 2020, to amplify the need to decrease a disproportionate placement of black children in foster care, and to increase prevention efforts to build stronger and healthier families across the community. The People's Association of Justice Advocates has led historic initiatives, including the Gas Me Up program in 2022. During the rise of inflation and the record high gas prices, we all remember $6, $7 a gallon, and he held events at gas stations across San Diego, and he put free gas in over 1,000 low-income and working class family cars to meet a critical need. Did anybody get free gas on that day? All right, I heard somebody. Good. Okay. The County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and the People's Association of Justice Advocates and the National Black Contractors Association are two such organizations. So be it proclaimed by all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 7th day of February, 2023. That we commend the People's Association of Justice Advocates and the Black Contractors Association in honor of National Black History Month and congratulate each of you on your exceptional leadership, civil rights, economic empowerment, and to our San Diego communities. And I know you do this throughout the year, not just Black History Month. And we do hereby declare today to be Reverend Shane Harris and Abdul Rahim Hamid Day throughout San Diego County. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have to share the day. You've only got about 14 and a half hours left, so enjoy it. But here, I got proclamations for you, but if you each like to say a couple of words, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Desmond. And I first and foremost want to thank Supervisor Desmond and the Board of Supervisors here in San Diego. It's good to be back home. I've been in D.C. and traveling the country. But it's imperative that we honor and revere Black history because Black history is American history. I want to thank the Board of Directors and the affiliates who work with me as the national president of this civil rights organization that I founded, the People's Association of Justice Advocates, which was founded to advance Dr. King's mission and dream of addressing the inequities and the poverty that too many African Americans and working class people across this country face. As an organization, we have been at the forefront of some of the most critical issues facing the forgotten and the unheard of society, specifically within Black communities. When you look at the pledge we made in 2020 with the County of San Diego, focusing on decreasing the disproportionate placement of Black children in foster care, we were the first organization, national civil rights organization, to focus on this issue and to dig deep within this issue so that we could try to solve the disproportionate numbers of African American children and the lack of cultural competency within child welfare systems across America, and we're continuing that pledge. When you look at what we did with the historic Gas Me Up initiative, where attorneys like Attorney Mila and the Gomez trial attorneys, Attorney John Gomez and others partnered with us to put free gas into over 1,000 San Diegans, working class San Diegans tanks. It was historic. While some were talking about helping and assisting those who had struggled, we actually did it, and it was historic. When you look at the work that we've done across criminal justice reform, advancing police equity, policing equity, and specifically reimagining policing across this country, the work has to continue. We saw what happened to Tyree Nichols. We must say his name, but we must create reforms that ensure that we do not see any more Tyree Nichols. When we look at the lack of African Americans within the construction workforce, we must continue to advance a workforce that is truly equitable for all. When we look at the inequities of poverty facing African American communities across this country, we must ensure that families who have been hit the hardest get a guaranteed income so that that one check, which is not enough, can help them multiply into other support systems and be able to face these challenges with their children and their families. We must do the work to ensure that Black history is honored as American history. And I close in the honorable words of Maya Angelou. She said, "Won't it be wonderful when Black history and Native American history and Jewish history and all of U.S. history is taught from just one book?" My hope today is that we can bring all of our differences aside. Political parties, we should not be beholden to one party or the other. We should be able to work bipartisan. We should be able to talk to anyone, but at the end of the day, when all of the history is told, it should be one book we are reading from, the U.S. history book, the history of the American people. And Black history is the reason why American history is so strong. From the building of the White House to becoming the president of the White House and the United States, we have fought and persevered at every level. And I pledge to you today that we will not stop, and we will continue this pledge to ensure that more happens and more is done for these communities, reparations and such, for these communities who have built this country. If you built the country, you should be supported by this country. And so with all of that, we thank you for this honor, Supervisor Desmond and the Board of Supervisors. Let's get to work to make Black history American history by progressing Black communities across this country. Abdul Rahim Hamid.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the Beneficent and Merciful. Ashhadu ila ilaha illallah wa ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness there is no God but one. And I will ditto what my brother Shane Harris, protege, has said today, and I will be very brief. Today we look in this audience of a inclusionary, integrated community of diversity. Where heretofore, history created segregation and discrimination and exclusion. Such laws as Jim Crow, such laws as Negro need not apply, such laws as Mexicans, dogs, Jews, and Negroes, or they use the other word, niggers, keep out. Today, we are establishing those same laws under the auspices of project labor agreements that is excluding the Black Contractors Apprenticeship Program. And I don't want to use this as a political platform. I want to say to my supervisors, thank you for the honor, and I appreciate you, and I would like to sit down with you to find out a way forward. African Americans have struggled to get into the construction industry. African Americans are struggling to have their own apprenticeship program. And we need to find a way, and thank you, Supervisor Desmond, for this honor. And I also want to thank Nathan Fletcher for all the work that he does, and for Nora Vargas as being the first Latina supervisor. We are the first African-American apprenticeship program. We have to garner that as being very important in the state of California, based here in Southern California, or San Diego, California, which is important. When the late, great George Stevens, happy belated birthday, George, yesterday, put $1.5 million in the hands of the National Black Contractors Association, it became a magnet. And I say this in conclusion. It has been a house that's been visited by the late Myrlie Evers, not late Myrlie Evers, but Malcolm's wife, Betty Shabazz, the Reverend Sharpton, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Myrlie Evers have all come there to that house, and along with Alexis Herman, the first Black Secretary of State, to marvel over what we have accomplished. And they're looking for this across the country. So I want to say, in taking this honor and thanking my wife, Janice, who is the coordinator and the facilitator for the apprenticeship program, and all of those who have worked with us, I accept this honor in their behalf. My son, Najar, and Shamari, and others that are here. But today, I just want to say thank you. And I hope that we can have a civil conversation, that you're not afraid of me, that you're not afraid to meet with me and to have a discussion about how do we make it work for all of us. And that's what's important for me today. Thank you.
And we want to also honor Tayati Howard, one of San Diego's legends who are here, and so many others. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you. All right, here. This one, yeah, hopefully I got these right. You will get a picture back in the well? Further?
One more.
Thank you, everyone. We're now going to proceed with the non-agenda public communications. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time for their comments, which is 4 minutes. To better facilitate the meeting, we'll have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers via phone, and the rest of non-agenda public communication will be heard at the close of today's meeting. Clerk, can you call the speakers, please?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 25 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 13 in person and 12 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As the chairwoman indicated, we'll be calling the first 5 speakers. All the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to state your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward Tim Macedo, Kira, Bryant Rumbaugh, Michael Brando, and Mike Borello. If I've called your name, please come forward.
All right, Bryant Rumbaugh. So I appreciate being here. I did notice in the proclamations, there's one black American that I'd really like to really pay homage and my respects to. He is still alive, Thomas Sowell. Are you guys all familiar with him by chance? Okay, you really should be. He is a political commentator, he's an author, and he's also really an economist. He was born in like 1930. He's definitely a man who quite possibly would have been a wonderful president for our blessed United States. Jim, I did not get a chance to see you in the elevator this morning. You know, I enjoyed our little conversation. Oh, did you? You avoided me? No, okay, good. Did your finger heal, I hope? It did, okay, good. You know, as I told you in the elevator, I am now a constituent of yours. And so I'm really happy to really show my face and try to be an engaged citizen. There certainly is a component that's been missing in our governance, and it really is an engaged citizen. And I really want to give you the opportunity to really demonstrate to me that you really want to see this improvement that I continue to talk about. If you are allegiant to this system where so many people I've given up on this so-called democracy, as the chairwoman had talked about, you know, I deserve to know, because then I'm going to really have to kind of alter my approach. I do want to see improvement, and I do plan on, I'll be here again tomorrow morning, but really, Thomas Sowell, everybody in the room should really research him. We all need to seek truth, Jim.
Next speaker, please.
My name's Kara. Joel, I appreciate the eye contact and your phone being down this morning. Thank you so far. The first to arrive were the cameras installed to protect both you and me in places where we weren't that threatened, and yet the people didn't see. What followed were traffic restrictions to keep the roads quiet and clean. The maths didn't add up, nor the science, but still the people didn't see. Next came the 15-minute neighborhoods to make our lives easier decreed. To some, it seemed like restrictions, but still the people didn't see. And then came the digital ID, so convenient, easy, and free. Your life in one chip on a mainframe, and still the people didn't see. The cars they sold were electric, all wired to the government PC. They switched off the driving on Sundays, and still the people didn't see. The banks moved their money to digital, the government banned cash the next week, and the ability to fly was restricted, and still the people didn't see. They linked up your money and profile to the ID on the government PC and connected it to social media, and still the people didn't see. And then came a new cure for a new virus, and it's safe and effective and free. They linked these jabs to your profiles and connected it to the government PC. And when the people were locked up in their cities, policed by their digital IDs, unable to visit their loved ones, now finally the people can see. Restricted and tracked with no money, to go further a permit you'll need. Contained in your digital city, a why do the people not see? These steps that they sold us as progress never looked to be quite what they seemed. Now, if you don't ask the questions and protest, then your children and grandchildren will never know free.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and supervisors. My name is Tim Macedo, and I am a human service specialist with the County of San Diego and an SEIU 221 member. I want to thank you for your efforts to improve enrollment, access, and therefore a better work environment to administer self-sufficiency programs. However, we need your advocacy now more than ever. I am concerned with the progress of implementation of the recommendations from the Eligibility Task Force because we need a break. Too many self-sufficiency managers and supervisors are stuck in 20th century management practices. Your staff and the public deserve better. What we need is a management that is based in modern theories of best practices, that incorporates the initiatives and the proclamations that have come from this board. It should not matter whether best practices come from within or from another organization. That being said, I ask you, please encourage self-sufficiency management to continue to follow through with, on recommendations to benchmark workloads with more successful counties and to improve hiring and training of human service specialists so that we can get the help that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Mike Barillo. The Cochrane Library is a distinguished collection of databases containing different types of trusted, high-quality, independent evidence informing public health care decision-making published by Wiley. In January, they published Physical Interventions to Interrupt or Reduce the Spread of Respiratory Viruses. The 326-page review searched a plethora of sources in October 2022, focusing on all sorts of measures, including face masks, to prevent transmission of respiratory virus. This review essentially rang the death knell regarding reliance of masks to prevent transmission and infection by respiratory virus, including SARS-CoV-2. Main result, quote, wearing masks in the community probably makes little or no difference to the outcome of influenza-like illness or COVID-19-like illness compared to not wearing masks, with a risk ratio of 0.95, 95% confidence interval. Wearing masks in the community probably makes little or no difference to the outcome of laboratory-confirmed influenza or SARS-CoV-2 compared to not wearing masks. Risk ratio, 1.01, 95% confidence interval. The use of N95 masks compared to surgical masks probably makes little or no difference for the objective and more precise outcome of laboratory-confirmed influenza infection. Restricting the pooling to healthcare workers made no difference in the overall findings. It's incumbent on this body and their HHS to read the Cochrane Review and consider an ordinance in San Diego to ban the mandatory use of masks in any public or private setting, since the harms of masks have not been well studied. The harms have not been studied.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I used the name Michael. I got to say hello to some visitors here from Point Loma Nazarene University. They're getting to see on a project what this board is all about. And what this board is all about is evil. But that can really be understood only through coming here for the last 2 years. It's interesting, Kara just thanked Joel for paying attention, and yet he's not paying attention. You cannot be doing two things at once. Nathan Fletcher's always looking down, oftentimes giggling with his pal, Jim Desmond. Nora Vargas giggles and laughs while people are talking. This already started when the first 5 speakers came up here. I have a question I know it won't be answered, and I'm not picking on this fella because I do feel sorry for him. But why is Nick Gonzalez, the deputy, still here? He beat and assaulted Audra Morgan out here in the hallway 2 months ago. As part of your gaslighting efforts, all of you act like that didn't happen. You never mention it, you never talk about it, you never say I'm sorry. You actually keep him on board here. As far as your code of civil discourse, I took a look at that. The 5 points. I don't have time to go through all 5 now, but one says that you listen attentively and ask questions to understand others' positions. No, you don't. You showed that over and over. You show respect for ideas and views presented, even where we disagree. No, you don't. You've already decided before you came in here. And remember the last 2 years where Nora Vargas during a meeting would tweet, I don't know if it was tweet or Instagram, but making fun of people who were calling out the injections, the poison injections? We see you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. Again, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll start with our first caller.
Paul Henkin. Hi, Supervisors. There seem to be an increasing number of items which do not belong on the consent calendar. So let me remind you of the rules, beginning with your own. Rules of procedure, number 2B. Quote, the consent calendar may include routine items that are not required to be on the discussion items section of the agenda. Ordinances, foreign relations, stuff, and appointments should not be on the consent calendar. The people need to judge which are valid and not. Rule 3B, the consent calendar. All agenda items listed under this section are considered to be routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Rule 3E repeats this. I will be glad to help if the new CAO needs or wants. The standard definition, by the way, is that a consent calendar, also known by Robert's Rules of Order as consent calendar, groups routine meeting discussion points into a single agenda item. In so doing, the grouped items can be approved in one action rather than for the filing of multiple motions. Also notice that Rule 2B continues that the agenda shall include notice of items to be heard by the board in its separate and distinct capacity as board for the County Fire Protection District, Flood Control District, County Housing Authority, Redevelopment Agency, and Sanitation District. So let's have no more separate one-item agendas.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning. My name is John Bodorf with CleanEarthForKids.org. We asked the county to take action to stop the sale, use, and storage of leaded aviation fuel. Lead is a toxic heavy metal with no safe level. It is a cumulative poison that does not break down in the environment, and it is especially toxic to children and unborn babies. It damages their brains and nervous systems, lowers IQ scores, harms muscle coordination, speech, language, and causes behavior problems. According to EPA data, General Aircraft at Gillespie Field dumps over 1,100 pounds of lead into the air every year. Palomar Airport, over 700 pounds, and Ramona, over 600 pounds. That is over 2,400 pounds of lead in our air every year from county airports, and there is no safe level of lead. Studies show lead hurts kids' brains, leading to lower reading and math test scores and higher rates of suspension and detention. high school dropout rates and crime and time spent in prison. Kids in Flint, Michigan saw a 30% drop in reading proficiency because of lead. A study done by the County of Santa Clara found children living within a half mile of their airport had lead levels nearly twice that of kids in Flint. There is unleaded aviation fuel available. The County of Santa Clara has stopped leaded fuel at their airport, as has the City of Santa Monica. The City of Long Beach and Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles have already started the process to get the lead out. The county must take action to get the lead out of county airports. The county must notify those living and working near these airports that they are being poisoned by lead and update the county health department website to show airports as a source of lead. Please protect our kids and immediately stop the sale, use, and storage of leaded fuel. For more information on the dangers of lead, please go to our Team 5 Get the Lead Out page on our website. Thank you from cleanearthforkids.org.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisor Chair Vargas. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. There's been much discussion regarding neglected neighborhoods. And as a public health advocate, I note that neglected neighborhoods are often described as a community of concern. It is more likely to have aging infrastructure with playgrounds and parks in disrepair. A community of concern is more likely to have polluted air, and its residents have worse health outcomes than other communities in San Diego County. Maintaining clean air and minimizing poor health means curtailing exposure to tobacco and marijuana, smoke, vapor, and other airborne pollutants. Eliminating or at least reducing secondhand smoke and vape exposure is undermined by smoke, vape shops, and marijuana storefronts. Their products are smoked or vaped and are notorious for invading neighborhoods of concern. Their visibility and promotion often threatens, sabotages, and diverts the lives of young people who may well decide that smoking or vaping or just getting high is an acceptable form of relaxation or diversion. My suggestion, fix the parks and playgrounds, reduce the number of smoke, vape, and pot shops. Thank you for hearing my concerns this morning.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Diane Grace, a grandmother and mother. Today, my message is short as I come here to wish Johnny Stack a happy heavenly birthday. Johnny would have been 23 years old today, but due to his marijuana addiction, psychosis, and ultimate suicide, his life was cut short. Just 3 days before his suicide, he told his mother, Laura, quote, "I want you to know you were right. You told me marijuana would hurt my brain. Marijuana has ruined my mind and my life, and I am sorry. I love you," end of quote. Please help us parents to continue to educate others, especially our teens, about the dangers of today's high THC marijuana on the adolescent brain development, psychosis, and suicide. Remembering that the main result of marijuana businesses is not creating access that happens with therapeutic delivery services, but that they can create a sense of normalization that aims to increase the marketplace by bringing in new customers like the inexperienced, be it young or old. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from our final caller this morning.
Script Flipper Truth here. Once again, I say, Nora, that you don't really care about BIPOC because you didn't invite anyone from the public to your State of the County address. Only the wannabe blue bloods. Maybe you've forgotten where you came from. Don't forget, you're just lucky to be here. But I bet you feel so special now, having met a joke of a doctor, Jill Biden. Do you feel like a real chairwoman now? Did you enjoy feeling the clips I played of you and trying to reimagine the narrative? Well, I'm going to shatter that falsity right now with the truth. Nora, your niece Fatima said, she brings people together. That's her superpower. Nora, I thought your superpower was speaking 2 languages like me. Because what you actually do is divide people by senseless, toxic things like skin color with your racist equity lens. And if you enjoyed seeing people's beautiful faces, Nora, then why did you tell everyone to wear masks for 2 years? This is how I feel about you being the chair and lying, Nora. Here it is.
No more, not on my watch. But guess what? No more, not on my watch. And I'll say it over and over again. Not under my fucking watch. No. My team and I visited what many people refer to as the jungle. Walking through the jungle. Walking through the jungle. Are you ready to dance? I mean, come on. It wouldn't be a Latina party if we don't dance. Not under my fucking watch. No.
No dancing. For the record, that song was by Hanoi Rock, who inspired Guns N' Roses. And Nathan, you're just a desperate World Fascist Corps member who is looking to kiss up to old Biden, but he won't even remember you. He got a lobotomy with a saw. All for jokes who act like you got the same lobotomy.
And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes, statement of proceedings for the regular meeting and in-home supportive services public authority meeting of January 24th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All right, please call the vote. Oh, we can vote here.
Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right. For purposes of this meeting, we're going to be taking a couple of discussion items out of order, but first, let me go ahead and proceed with the formation of our consent calendars. Item 1 through 16, 23, and it says, 1, members of the public will be able to comment on the consent calendar after the supervisors pull the items they would like for discussion. Any of my colleagues would like to pull any items for discussion? Supervisor Anderson?
Yes, I'd like to pull 13 and 14, please.
14. Supervisor Fletcher?
I don't have any items to pull, but I want to make a few remarks on item 1, the authority to accept the Wellness and Mental Health Grant Program for our Sheriff's Department. I think the health and wellness of our first responders is vitally important. It is a difficult and challenging job, and so our efforts to continue to provide support to them and their families is an important step forward, and look forward to continuing to work with the Sheriff's Department if there's anything else we need to do to make sure that the wellness and mental health of our deputies is invested in. On item 2, this is the next step in the process for San Diego County Fire Protection District to take on the responsibility for both fire and EMS in the Borrego Springs Fire Protection District. The transfer is community supported, will ensure excellent service from our San Diego County Fire and CAL FIRE employees in partnership, and I think is a continuing effort to make sure we have regional response in place as it relates to fire and EMS. Item 3, I just want to praise the work of the First 5 Commission. Alethea Argulis and team have done an incredible job. We know that the investment that's made in the first 5 years of life is vital and critical to the health and outcome of children, can lay the foundation for an incredibly successful life, and can be one of the greatest barriers in breaking down historic inequities. And so I really appreciate the work that's been done. It's an incredible report. I encourage everyone out there to take a few minutes. And then IHSS item number 1, I'm pleased to see this agreement before the board. Our IHSS workers work incredibly hard, and they deserve to be recognized for their work. They provide critical care to our county's most vulnerable residents, our low-income seniors, people with disabilities, allow them to stay in their homes, retaining some independence and also alleviating a burden on hospitals and nursing homes. As our population ages, the number of seniors we're going to have to make sure we're caring for in a responsible way is going to increase, and we're going to have to be there to continue to increase. And so I appreciate all the members of UDW, the AFSCME members that are here. I appreciate their advocacy, and it's great to see us moving forward together. And a special welcome to my buddy David, who lives right around the corner from me, who I see in my neighborhood all the time and appreciate. So thank you all for what you're doing. With that, I'm happy to make a motion for the items on consent.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Next, Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate I also want to comment on Borrego Fire and the item number 2. I'm glad to see this is moving forward, along with County Fire, providing Borrego Springs service tentatively in the beginning of July of this year. Looking forward to that. As Supervisor Fletcher pointed out, this was community-driven. They wanted the enhancements and the opportunity to work with County Fire, and I'm assured they're going to continue to be in very good hands from Borrego Fire to CAL FIRE as well. So appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Vice Chair Tara Lawson-Limura.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just first on item, just a couple of remarks, nothing to pull. Just first on the first 5 commission annual report. It's great. You guys did a great job. I think about these issues day in and day out as a mom of a 3.5-year-old, and know how incredibly vital these investments are in determining the entire future trajectory of a human life. What we do in these first 5 years is when the brain has 80% of its plasticity. So much of who we become is constrained or made possible by the investments that we can make at this young age. So this is just really, really well done. I want to thank the whole team for the children you've screened and connected to treatment, and just the ongoing work, and appreciate that. I also wanted to just mention how I think we're really moving in the right direction on the community infrastructure and opportunities with youth transportation investments. I think that's a huge priority. It's been a priority for this board. It's a priority of mine, and I'm glad to see that we're continuing to move that forward. And I also just want to thank our county staff and our team for all the great work you've done on our compensation ordinances. I know it's been a lift, but we've done really great work. And just want to say thank you to all of our county workers, our IHSS workers, our friends from UDW who are here. So thank you all, and that's all. Do you need a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, happy to second.
All right, thank you so much. I just wanted to make a couple of comments on item number 1, the sheriff's work that Sheriff Kelly Martinez and the work that we're doing, that you all are doing around mental health and well-being for our peace officers is absolutely a top priority. So I appreciate that work that's being done there. On item number 4, the approval of the appointment of the San Diego County Child Care and Development Planning Council. I think I mentioned it in my State of the County address that we can't have a strong workforce without access to high-quality child care. And so I am excited about this planning council, and thank you for their commitment for putting our families, children, and child care providers first. And so I'm looking forward to the great work that's going to come out of that. And then obviously, I missed the item specifically on the first 5 continues to be a priority for us, and making sure that our young people have access and resources that they need. And then last but not least, on item number 6, I think I've mentioned before that, for me, it's really important that we continue to do everything we can to remove barriers and bring solutions for our underserved communities. And item 6, I think, is an item that is going to help us really take a step closer to ensuring that we bring necessary investments for our youth. And I want to highlight once again the families and the community of City Heights and all the organizations like Mid-City Can and the folks who have been spearheading the advocacy for youth opportunity passes for over a decade. And the partners at MTS and SANDAG, NCTD, who have done such a great job, because I think I've mentioned before, the ratership for youth under 18 has really gone up since we've been able to provide the passes by 84%. And so we're going to continue to do that. And this board letter is going to really help us as a region think about what this looks like for our youth between the ages of 18 and 24, which I wholeheartedly believe that is going to make a huge difference. So, así que muchísimas gracias a todas las personas que han estado trabajando en esta iniciativa para buscar una manera de ayudar a nuestros jóvenes para que puedan, ya sea solamente ir al trabajo, pero a las escuelas y todo lo que necesitan pues para salir adelante. Así que muy orgullosa de todos ustedes. Y con eso, pues emocionada de lo que significa ahora que vamos a hacer ese trabajo juntos. With that, we have a motion and a second, and we pulled item number 13 and 14, correct? Mm-hmm. Number 12 is a compensation.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 22 requests to speak on items on the consent calendar, 15 in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. As a reminder, as the Chairwoman indicated, items 13 and 14 have been pulled for discussions. Any members of the public that requested to speak on those items, please hold your comments until the board discusses those items. We'll be receiving public comment on those items separately. Any members of the public that requested to speak on the remaining items on the consent calendar, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, starting with those in favor of items. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'll be calling you in groups of 5, so please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward Robert Gurman, Fernando Vazquez, David Haskins, Rosalia Santos, and Denise Lopez. If I've called your name, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Hi, my name is Robert Gorman. I'm spokesperson, and I also have a slideshow somewhere. Should I wait? Oh, you're counting me. Okay, go. I am a spokesperson for Citizens Against Gillespie's expansion low-flying aircraft. San Diego County has 11 airports that have leaded avgas on their property, and all their planes burn and use leaded fuel. Today's purpose is to give you the most recent information on the leaded avgas issue. The EPA has closed public comment on petition EPA HQ 0 2022 that leaded avgas being used by small general aviation aircraft is a danger to public health. We expect an endangerment finding in the next 6 months by the EPA. California Department of Public Health have issued 2 notices of care for children guidelines on childhood lead. The board received the first leaded avgas notice approximately 1 year ago, presented by Gary Keller. The second notice you have received today, titled Lead in Aviation Gas, and it's also in Spanish on the back side of that flyer. All you have to do is ask the State Department. The second notice you have received today. Now it's the San Diego County's Health Department's turn. So we expect some help on this issue coming down the road, and I'll be back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Rosalía Santos. Vengo a dar gracias.
Okay. ¿Cuál es su nombre?
Rosalía Santos.
Okay, and good morning. My name is Rosalía Sanchez.
Vengo con respeto.
Santos.
Vengo con respeto delante de ustedes.
I am respectfully before you today.
Yo vivo en el área de San Diego. Soy proveedora por 6 años. Vivo en Spring Valley.
I live in San Diego, the area of San Diego. I've been a provider for 6 years, and I live in the area of Spring Valley.
Estoy en el programa de IHSS por 6 años. Estoy aquí porque quiero agradecer el respeto y importancia que le han dado a nuestro programa.
Okay, and I am here because I work for IHSS. I've been doing it for 6 years, and I really want to thank you, and I'm very grateful for the respect and importance that you have been giving to our program.
Que se refleja con el contrato al que hemos llegado en acuerdo.
And this reflects on the contract that we have agreed on.
Como parte del equipo de negociaciones, se da de primera mano el gran esfuerzo.
As part of the negotiations that we have, we give our hands to you for the big effort.
Que todos hicimos para llegar a este contrato.
And that all of us did in order to agree to this contract.
Yo cuido a clientes de la comunidad en el condado.
Since I take care of clients from the community of the county,
del programa de registro. Gracias
del programa
del registro.
And this is from the Registers program.
Miembros de UDW.
And they are members of
UDW. Gracias por enfatizar esta porción del programa.
Thank you so much for emphasizing this part of the program.
Juntos estamos apoyando a los miembros.
All of us together are supporting the members
vulnerables de nuestra comunidad
that are vulnerable to our community.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
su nombre, señor.
Buenos días,
Okay, good morning.
presidente, presidenta Nora Vargas y miembros de la Junta de Supervisores.
Okay, President Nora Vargas and all of you, members of the County Board of Supervisors.
Mi nombre es Fernando Vázquez y soy proveedor de IHS y representante de UDW en el Condado de San Diego.
Okay, my name is Fernando Vasquez. I am a provider for IHSS and I am UDW in the County of San Diego.
Quiero agradecerles en nombre de nuestros miembros del Condado de San Diego por llegar a un acuerdo sobre un contrato con respecto al trabajo que hacemos.
Okay, really would like to go ahead and I'm very grateful to you and all our members of the county for having this agreement that we agreed on and that I respect the work that we do.
El aumento de sueldo nos ayudará a seguir haciendo un trabajo mejor y alegremente.
The increase on the salary is going to make us, you know, work better and very happy.
El aumento de nuestros fondos de salud y bienestar reconocen nuestras necesidades de cuidarnos unos a otros.
And also, the increase on the health services really recognize that, you know, we really need to recognize one another.
Como saben, el aumento de sueldo de los cuidadores y también están invirtiendo dinero en nuestras necesidades y a compartir con nuestros locales de donde vivimos.
Okay? This increase, you know, has really given us the opportunity of sharing and also share, you know, with our communities that we're living at.
El trabajar juntos nos garantiza que todos en nuestro condado podamos tener atención para vivir mejores en nuestros hogares.
Okay? And by working together, it's giving us the opportunity of working better with our communities and also for our homes.
Nuestros adultos mayores están incrementándose y es necesario que tengamos proveedores para que puedan suplir las necesidades de nuestros futuros clientes.
The elderly portion of our community is really increasing, and it's very important that we get all the involvement that is adequate to provide for them as they increase more and more.
A medida que avanzamos, queremos asociarnos con el condado para continuar fortaleciendo el programa IHS.
As we grow, we would like to go ahead and be part of the county, you know, and IHSS.
Y hacer de la atención en el hogar una carrera deseable.
Okay? So the care for the home can become a very, very well-known and wanted career.
Trabajando juntos podemos reclutar y retener a fuerza laboral que necesitamos para brindar atención a todos los que van a necesitar.
If we work together, we can recruit, you know, more workforce and work all together for all of those who really need it.
Una vez más, gracias por llegar a un acuerdo con nuestro contrato y apreciamos el trabajo que hacen, que podamos hacer un equipo.
Okay? Once again, thank you for coming to an agreement with us. We really appreciate the work as a team.
Apreciamos y con respeto le agradecemos todo lo que han hecho y esperemos que Dios los siga bendiciendo para poder ayudar los unos a los otros.
And
Gracias.
with all respect, we really thank you. God bless you for being united to us, and thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and honorable board members. My name is David Haskins. I am IHS provider and San Diego Secretary Treasurer for my union, UDW. On behalf of our members here in San Diego County and across the state, we want to thank you for working with us for a contract that respects the work we do and help us keep doing it. The pay raise, along with transportation, ID badges, and expanded access to PPE and more, goes such a long way into improving the lives of IHS providers in this county. We appreciate that you work with our bargaining team to settle this contract. Now, we are able to turn our focus completely to meeting the needs of our communities. Now that we have a contract in place, we hope to do more together to prepare for the long-term needs of our seniors and people with disabilities going forward. As you know, there's a critical shortage of caregivers everywhere, including here in San Diego County. With the aging of our population, the lack of caregiver is leading to a growing long-term care crisis. The California State Auditor released a report last year that showed over 100,000 hours of excess IHSS care needs were unmet. We need to find workers to provide that care. IHSS providers love being caregivers. We keep our clients safe and healthy at home. It's important to work, and we're proud to do it. IHSS care is a very efficient form of long-term care. We keep thousands of seniors and people with disabilities safe at home. If it weren't for us, they would be living in an expensive institution. We're saving taxpayer money.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 5 additional speakers: Maria Cortez, Ariana Federico, Iris Contreras, Catherine Rhodes, Consuelo, and Paul Henkin. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Thanks so much. Hi, my name is Denise Lopez. I live in City Heights, but right now I'm a student at UCSD. So I'm here to talk on item 6 about giving more opportunity to use 24 and 18. As we've seen right now with the pilot program with San Diego, the Youth Opportunity Program, we have seen the increase of youth using transportation over the weekends and going to school. Since the Blue Line has been open to go to UCSD, we have noticed that there's a lot of youth that needs the transportation. So we're asking if, as a student that's at in the UCS system, we still have to pay for our public transportation. And we think that the money can be used for our books, paying our tuition. So we fear that we want that get the opportunity to get free transportation to 18 and 24, not for only us as youth, but there's also other situations going on with other youth that can't attend college and will still need to use opportunity passes. As a person that advocated for youth opportunity passes since I was 15 years old in high school and still advocating in my second year in college, I've seen the necessary, as I've been told stories about how it's very important transportation to be used. I have taken my brothers to soccer games with the youth opportunity passes because they need the opportunity to go somewhere far away. And mostly all our opportunities are in long distance. So I've seen that these youth opportunity passes has been amazing, and a lot of youth has been very grateful for it, and we want the program to be extended, and we want it to be included for 24 and under for the other ages that got cut out, because we are also the ones that also need it too. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Maria Cortez. I'm a resident of City Heights. And I just want to say, Nora, thank you very much. You're doing an amazing job. Keep up the good work. And Nathan, I'm wishing you the best in your endeavors. I also am supporting the Youth Opportunity Passes. I've been co-chair and supporting this for 20 years. That's why some of the gray hairs are here, dealing with transportation. But with the leadership that we have, I'm asking, and I know you're supporting, but I'm asking to continue the support now for the 24 and under. And also let's think about the foster youth, because back in my day, I wish we had that. I too fell through the cracks, but look at me now. I'm proud to say that. I'm a leader, but I'm also happy to see when I see the youth on the bus and the trolley, and they're using their opportunity passes, my God. But you know what I do? I stop and I tell them, I said, you know what? You're using your opportunity pass. That brings joy to me. And I let them know who we are and what we've done. And I get a big thank you, especially from the parents too, because they said that helps save them money. Because the cost of the bus passes right now, it's terrible. But to see the youth using that, it brings tears to me, and they tell me that it helps them. Now I also let them know that we're working on getting the opportunity passes for 24 and under. They let me know that, if that passes, then it will help them a great deal, because they spend a lot of money on their books and other things that they need for school. So I just want to say thank you for everybody here for taking the leadership, because you're doing a great favor, and what a legacy you guys are leaving. This is really something, and it's near and dear to my heart. So I just want to say thank you very much. And Nora, keep up the good job, because yes, we will come out dancing.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ariana Federico. I'm the organizing director at Mid-City CAN, and thank you so much for lending your time to listen to our team, ITCH, and overall just Chair Vargas for championing the youth opportunity passes, especially for 24 and under. Like Maria had mentioned, we've been working on this for over 10 years, and a lot of mothers and grandmothers, folks who their first language is predominantly Spanish, had really put in a lot of time to advocate for youth opportunity passes, the one that we have at SANDAG. However, it is only a pilot program that is going to be wrapping up this year. We're doing our part to go out to SANDAG, to the state, to ask for funds, but we really need the support in the partnership here in San Diego. So we're really excited to hear that the county will be moving forward with revisiting this board letter. Youth opportunity passes will really cultivate a culture of ridership here. Like mentioned before, we've seen an 84% increase in youth ridership, which is amazing, because now we see like folks are coming back. The pandemic really hit our communities really hard. So ridership did go down. Youth opportunity passes is bringing back riders, but they're also providing opportunities to young people so that they can participate in their communities, elevate their work, the power that they have. And again, we are here to support agenda item 6 for youth opportunity passes 24 and under. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Iris Contreras.
Good morning. Un momentito para allá. Good morning. My name is Iris Contreras.
Soy voluntaria de mi comunidad en City Heights por más de 20 años.
I've been a voluntary for my community of City Heights over 20 years.
Apoyando varias organizaciones, por ejemplo, el de Día de Muertos, el evento.
Okay. Supporting events. One of them is the Day of the Dead.
Apoyando también a la organización de Mid-City CAN.
And another one that we support is Meetings Again.
Apoyando los pases para los jóvenes, que es una importancia para nosotros los padres como hispanos, el que nos están apoyando hoy en día.
Okay, and supporting also the opportunities for the youth. For us, Hispanic parents, it's very important to do that today.
Se los digo especialmente yo, lo que he mirado en muchos padres de la importancia de tenerlos, y yo sigo apoyando a que nos los extiendan a la edad de 24 años.
And this is very special for us, especially with the youth, and I do hope that you continue to support and extend this until they turn 24 years old.
Porque hay una gran necesidad de muchos padres que necesitan este apoyo al no poder tener a sus hijos para llevarlos día a día.
There is a great need for parents to have this, since many of them do not have the opportunity to be taking them every day.
Y de verdad se los pido en el corazón, de la manera más atenta, que lo sigan haciendo.
And I really ask you from the bottom of my heart and very respectfully that you do listen to us.
Y lo digo en nombre de todos esos padres que no pueden estar presentes aquí, pero miro en mi comunidad la gran necesidad y en otras comunidades también aquí en San Diego.
And I am talking on behalf of all the parents that cannot be here, and also all of the parents that are in the community that also have the need.
Muchas gracias.
And thank you very much. Blessings.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Consuelo, speaking on number 3. But before that, Nora, you mentioned removing barriers. Really? Because that's all government does, is build barriers. Divide and conquer, that's how they control us all. Anyways, with that being said, Look at what they're doing. They will pay for others to raise your children instead of paying you to be there for your own children. That's how government works. It doesn't. You know why government doesn't want you raising your own child? Because they fear you. They fear you being awake. They fear you waking up others. They fear you being armed. They fear you speaking up. They fear you speaking out. They fear you standing up. They fear you resisting. They fear you rebelling. They fear you revolting. They fear you coordinating. They fear you organizing. They fear you banding together. They fear you standing up to them. They fear you won't comply. They fear you realizing you don't need them. They fear you, and we really don't need them. They fear you realizing you have the power. They fear you using that power. They fear you realizing you are the majority. They fear us. They continue to keep you under control as they promote scarcity while we live in abundance. Wake up, slaves. Stop thanking the same system that keeps you down.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the speakers in opposition of the consent items. Kara, Mike Borrello, Audra, and Mark. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi, Paul Henkin. Item number 12, you want to remove the provision which requires a peace officer to be a permanent resident of the United States. In most countries, you're guilty until proven innocent. Unlike this country where you're innocent until proven guilty. That means that they would probably jail you, shoot you, or use excessive force on you first. Anyway, number 4, I approve of the child care stuff, but the agenda says the San Diego County Child Care and Development Planning Council is advisory to the board and the superintendent of schools in order to advise the state on local child care and development issues. The board wants to approve the routine annual appointments and reappointments to the council, approve the child care plan created by the council, and approve the amendments to this council bylaws, which I approve of all of those. But a county council which advises the state is a prime example of something that belongs in discussion, not on consent. You should form the consent calendar from items which are actually routine per Rule 2B. This is definitely not a routine matter. The people should have a say in appointments and in bylaw changes of county council, and then should have a chance to have a meaningful discussion. As it is, this is a gross usurpation of power by the board. Thank you for listening, except I don't know where Nora went.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Catherine Rhodes, and I'm here for item 6, Youth Pass, number 16, communications received, and 23 appointments to the California Coastal Commission, which 3 of you are trying to go for, which is great. So anyway, first for the Youth Pass, before you use the federal ARPA funds, are you using the federal ARPA funds for here? Why not? Just give them the ARPA funds. Don't worry about it. You've got the money. You have to use it on the poor. This is perfect, perfect place. You used it before for the 18 and under. Now you could use it here. Make sure that nobody has a problem about where the money's coming from, because it could come from you, and you could be gracious and gift it to all the children so people could, live better. Of course, I want to throw in the homeless in there too. For 23, the California Coastal Commission, I live on the waterfront right by Diamond, and for some reason, we're not getting the sand dunes to protect us from the cliff erosion. The sand dunes go to Tourmaline Beach and protect a lot of the cliffs, but then when it gets over by Diamond, they don't put the sand dunes there anymore. They used to put the sand dunes from there all the way to the pier. and now they're not. So whoever could get them to put sand dunes there, I think you should be our coastal commissioner. And so 41 seconds left. The next thing I wanted to talk about is my favorite thing that I always talk about is the periodic financial reports, where in 1 month, $2 billion came into this fund. $2 billion. Probably came from the airports, probably came from the schools, it probably came from you and federal grants. $2 billion. It was $11 billion, it's $13 billion. You have to use this money. And then I wanted to say very much a thank you to Supervisor Fletcher for opening up the Urban Street Angels for the youth. He worked with Father Joe's Lucky Duck, and so when he talked about it, you know, I looked it up. This is fund number 61158, behavioral health. So you could find and track everything
Thank you. Thank
on
you.
this document.
Next speaker, please.
My name's Kara. I'm going to be speaking on number 1. Sheriff Wellness is, I almost thought it was a joke that you guys were writing into this agenda, because you truly have not shown at all that you care about the sheriff mental wellness. For example, Officer Nick Gonzalez is still here serving, I use that term in quotes, badge number 0283. I use this time to ask again that Sheriff Kelly Martinez do her job and investigate what happened to Audra in the hall here. She was assaulted. She's 110 pounds soaking wet. She has multiple injuries that she is still suffering from, ongoing. Thank you, Joel, for the eye contact. Tara, you should try looking up occasionally. This board needs to start acting like a board. You guys all have a code of conduct that you're supposed to be following. Jim, I appreciate the eye contact. I do appreciate it. You guys don't get to just pick and choose who your friends are in this room, even though you obviously do. It's unbelievable. I'd say it's unbelievable, but I believe it because I've been watching it happen for the last 2 years. It's really, really sad. And now, Fletcher, you've already announced that you're running for Senate. Who cares about San Diego? You won your position, and now you're going on to Senate. Bigger, better things. It's all been discussed. So anyway, I'm going to move on and discuss just lightly about the child care situation for item 3 and 4. If you guys are in charge of who these people are that are going to be picked for our children and caring after them, then I will continue to say my prayers for those children, because you guys are all about division. You're all about indoctrinating them. You're all about creating more confusion for our young people. They're suffering. You guys are also suffering. Maybe we should extend the Sheriff Wellness to the Board of Supervisors Wellness, because you guys also need some mental checks. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Mike Borrello, speaking on agenda 9. So like $600,000 in gifts being shelled out by Nathan Fletcher. So Nathan's running for Senate now. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but the public should really dig into these gifts that's being given out kind of indiscriminately, using ARPA funds and other things. The thing I really wanted to focus on is $165,000 in ARPA funds for community enhancement and neighborhood and reinvestment. I do not consent. Pay attention, San Diego. Fletcher's spending over $600,000 on these pet projects. Ultimately, this is our money being spent while we suffer higher property taxes and inflated cost of living. $165,000 in ARPA for chainsaws, weed eaters, and pressure washers. Then payroll, rent, and vendor fees for 0800. I wouldn't begrudge military, but if you really want to help them, then help the troops that were jabbed and are suffering from COVID vaccine injuries. They're totally being ignored. Or the troops that got booted because they wouldn't get jabbed. Maybe they could use some of that money for a head start in a career. But your proposed gifts, no thank you. I do not consent. I do not consent. ARPA was supposed to help compensate for our COVID-related losses, and it's not. It's going out everywhere else but. So I think I'm done. I'm done there. I do not consent. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Too many agenda items intentionally to ignore us. Mark, number 1, Sheriff Wellness and Mental Health.
You've created the problem, 40% of the middle class destroyed from your COVID response. In the fires, number 2, obviously wood burns at 660 degrees. So no global warming or climate change is causing that. There are, of course, some fires that are set accidentally or by people camping. But this is definitely people setting fires for the Agenda 21 of the 21st century. It's a real agenda by the United Nations, and they want people out of the country. So, of course, when farmers just got through saying they won't insure a bunch of people in Rancho Bernardo, and your house, you can't have a mortgage without it, so now your house is worthless. And even though you paid and you almost had it paid off. This will make people mentally ill and stressed out of their minds. And you've already anticipated and causing, you say there'll be 3 times as many mental health cases. Yeah, you're causing them. Number 3, the annual report. You've invested us, our children, our grandparents, our parents, our tax dollars, and invested. You own Fortune 500 companies, like 50% of many of them. It's the most fascist thing. It would make Germany envious. That should be distributed evenly among all the American citizens, but of course you won't do that. That would give them the means of production, and there would be no homeless vets, and everyone would be doing better. Youth transportation, you're trying to get people off the streets, no individual transportation, of course. AI, if people wanted to protest, it could in a millionth of a second assess where all these people were going to and just turn off the railway that day if there's no individual transportation. Appointments, it's always Agenda 21 appointments. Completely criminal.
Next speaker, please.
You know who I am. I'm a battered woman. What's up? So I'm going to speak about as many things as I can because you guys load this up so much that nobody can address anything. So I love that you are doing wellness and mental health for the officers, which obviously they need, right? Because we even have a female sheriff who runs the sheriff's department that won't even acknowledge when somebody is brutally assaulted. But yet you guys, project like you're trying to keep people safe. It's a joke. And the fact that Gonzalez is still here, he needs to have a mental health screening because he beats women for no reason. It's great. And then you got this, you're dissolving the Borrego Springs Fire Protection District and giving it to San Diego. That's so great. So then San Diego can dictate what's going on in all the unincorporated areas because you guys are going to make sure that they're the entity that makes sure we get out of those areas. And the fact that you're even dealing with children is kind of terrifying because you basically want to inject children with a bioweapon. You're indoctrinating them, telling them that they could be any gender. The fact that you think that this is going to help and it supports green job creation, not sure how that happens. But I'm just wondering if this child care includes the vaccines because it's like, you can't go into a child care place if you don't have your up-to-date vaccines, right? It's just your way to get rid of everybody. And then you want to do the high-speed internet. How great is that? Youth transportation. How about if you give everybody free transportation, maybe people will use your public transit? Probably not, but it doesn't even go everywhere. And the fact that little kids can ride that and there is no age limit, it's terrifying that they can do that, and there's pedophiles roaming the streets, and the fact that you want to have officers who aren't citizens come in just proves as to why you guys won't check drugs going into these.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you. For the record, that speaker was Audra. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted, and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll start with our first caller.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas and honorable supervisors. My name is Courtney Baltiski with the YMCA of San Diego County and Children First Collective. We want to voice support for item number 3 in the receival of the first 5 annual report. We will reiterate this at the first 5 commission meeting because it cannot be said enough. The first 5 team is amazing and have shown up for community time and time again. especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. A highlight of the report includes support for over 44,000 children, parents, caregivers, and child care providers in evidence-informed programs and support for health, family support, learning, and community connections. This has made a significant difference for San Diego. The first 5 report, along with the Child Care Development Planning Council plan, set San Diego up for continued commitment and expanded support for the child care sector, enabling us to dream about a region where child care is a critical support for families and addresses pay parity for child care providers. We also want to support and celebrate the organizers who are in chambers today advocating for expanding and sustaining the Youth Opportunity Pass, and members of the Rapid Response Network advocating for support to asylum seekers in our community. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Truth. Item 3, the first 5 commission includes members Nick Machione and Wicked Wilma Wonka of the West. Their strategic plan includes behavioral screening for children ages 0 through 5. Item 4 is the County Child Care and Development Planning Council with members racially categorized, including extremists like Matthew Proctor and his socialist justice curriculum. The plan includes child care in housing and commercial development and distance learning. Item 5, the county library is getting federal debt dollars from the FCC's E-rate program for broadband, administered by DHS contractor Columbia Telecommunications Corporation for $3 million. Item 6 is the Youth Opportunity Pass, which increases child trafficking for unaccompanied children riding public transit for free. Youth supervisors can claim increased access to jobs and services, but by the time children make it there, they'll be guaranteed to have either barely made it on time or just completely missed it. Like your county address story, Nora, about the girl taking a bus for an hour and a half to get to school. Who you trying to fool? That includes you, dancer Maria Cortez. The bus costs only $2.50, you liar, and less if you buy a monthly pass. Item 7 to 10 are Nora, Joel, Nathan, and Tara spending almost $1.5 million. I'll go into detail about it tomorrow. Item 12 removes the requirement for a peace officer to be a U.S. citizen. Any undocumented illegal criminal can now make a paycheck impersonating an officer, Nora. Item 15, Nora's choice of Lucas O'Connor worked for Nathan's wife, Lorena, and is with the Climate Action Campaign. Nathan's choice of Shea Benson worked for Nathan's mayoral and assembly campaign. Talk about scratching back. And item 23, the California Coastal Commission will consist of city council members only from IB and National City. All the coast of the county seems to be at the border, Nora. No consent to the consent, as usual. It's all bad and really hard to speak about in 2 minutes. You guys put a lot of
Thank you. Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on the items in the consent calendar.
Thank you very much, Clerk, and thank you for all those folks who gave public comment on these items. I did fail to mention that I'm really also very thrilled about the fact that we have come to an agreement with UDW and the great work that they're doing. So I think everyone knows, and I've shared my story, that it was UDW workers that really helped my dad through a really hard time. And so I just want to make sure that I remind them how much they are appreciated and how much this county is grateful for them and all the work that they do every day. So with that, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to go ahead and call a vote.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. Just a note for the record, this vote on consent includes items 1 through 12, 15 through 16, 23, and in-home supportive services public authority, item 1.
Thank you. Please vote.
Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right. And as I mentioned, we're going to take some discussion items out of order. So the next item that we're going to go ahead and move towards is item number 18, and then we'll take the other items in order. I'm actually really thrilled to be able to have an opportunity to work with Supervisor Anderson in presenting this particular item, which is item 18, enhancing preparation for the arrival of migrants and the lifting of Title 42 restrictions. This is a very important item for us because, as you know, the County of San Diego for many years has been at the forefront, really leading the way and being a model to so many across not only the state, but in the country. And so in anticipation of the lifting of Title 42, We are proposing a comprehensive preparedness plan that not only IDs clear lines of responsibility, really focuses on identifying shelter infrastructure needs. It also really works with identifying different potential faith-based and or nonprofit partners in this process. And we are asking the CAO to come back and provide us a report in 30 days as we're really looking at also thinking about how we get ready to ask for additional FEMA funds and coordinate with regional organizations as we're moving forward. And I think it's really important to emphasize and to be clear with everyone that absolutely immigration remains a federal responsibility. But as I mentioned before, San Diego County has, really have led by example in making sure that for those people who are seeking asylum and who are fleeing danger and persecution, they understand and they know that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they feel safe. And so I also want to acknowledge this work and for the folks who have been doing this so selflessly for so many years. I remember when the San Diego Rapid Response Network started, and Chair Fletcher also was one of the folks that led the way at the time, and I remember working with so many folks that are here today, the Immigrant Right Consortium, California Welcoming Task Force, the ACLU, and Jewish Family Services, all of you from day one, even when there was no infrastructure in place, you did everything that you could to make sure that people were treated with humanity and with respect. Así que les doy las gracias a todos ustedes y a las organizaciones por estar aquí, por el trabajo que hacen a diario. No trabajan trabajan fines de semana, noches, y nunca dejan de tocarse el corazón por la gente que lo necesita más y que ocupa los recursos de acceso a salud pública y la necesidad que tienen pues en una etapa muy difícil para todos ellos. Así que estoy muy orgullosa de trabajar con ustedes. Este es el primer paso para poder crear un proyecto en donde vamos a tener un plan mucho más intensivo para identificar cómo vamos a ayudar juntos a las comunidades que vienen aquí, que tienen mucha necesidad, y creo que es una responsabilidad de nosotros, aunque el problema migratorio se tiene que resolver a nivel federal. Nosotros creo que estamos comprometidos para que esto funcione. Así que, with that, I do want to make sure that I don't fail to mention that Governor Newsom and the administration have really have done a fantastic job in ensuring that resources have been available, and our congressional delegation has been at the forefront doing this work again. And so with that, I'm happy to make a motion, and I'll ask my colleague, Supervisor Anderson, if he'd like to make some comments.
I would, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank you and your leadership. You've been a great partner when it comes to compassionate looking at how we're addressing homeless, how we're addressing asylum seekers and refugees. Many of you heard me say this in the past, but between our two districts, we have welcomed more refugees than any place else west of the Mississippi. And we've welcomed from Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and we've always welcomed with open arms. And whether I'm not in Congress, I don't have anything to do with the federal policy, so I'm not going to speak to the border issues and how we're doing it, because that's not my job. My job is to make sure that these people are treated with respect, that they're welcomed, and that our neighborhoods aren't abused, because we should not be carrying the weight of the country in this lonely county. And so the focus of this is that we know that in December, 60 refugees ended up in our homeless shelters in San Diego County, and that was before Title 42. When they released Title 42, we know the numbers are going to be much greater, and we need the infrastructure to ensure that we have better outcomes. I cannot support federally sponsored homelessness, and that we can do a better job. We've been a beacon of hope to the world. We have helped people. We've shown that we have the heart for it, and I want to thank Governor Newsom. Initially, we sent a letter to him, and his staff reached out to us to say that they'd be willing to help in any technical way, and they've been very, very helpful to us. But as we move forward, we've got to have a better program than just street releases and many of those people being stuck going to our homeless shelters, taking valuable space from our current homeless. And so again, thank you, Chair, for your help and for your support on this. And I would like to second this motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Now we're going to go ahead and go to public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 41 requests to speak on this item, 31 in person and 10 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 61 e-comments, 59 of those in favor. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 18 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, starting with those in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'll be calling you in groups of 5, so please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Norma Chavez-Peterson, Michael Hopkins, Kate Clark, Brad Mills, Judah Coker, and Marta Flores. If I've called your name, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and supervisors. My name is Norma Chavez-Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. I also serve on the steering committee and am a founding member of the San Diego Rapid Response Network. The ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties supports the board letter submitted by Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson and all of its recommendations. San Diego County is and always will be a community of fronterizos, a border binational community where people frequently travel across the border for work, commerce, recreation, and new opportunities. We've not always embraced our fronterizo identity. I'm glad we have a fronteriza chair and my supervisor. Yet in October 2018, our San Diego Rapid Response Network volunteers discovered large groups of migrants abandoned by immigration authorities on the streets of San Diego without food, shelter, or the means to reach their loved ones in other parts of the country. Our broad coalition sprang into action. Launched in late 2017, our motto is "No one stands alone in our community." And years later, we led by example and established the county's first migrant shelter service. Services operated by Jewish Family Service. To date, you already heard earlier, we've served over 125,000 people. In December 2022, the federal government again released hundreds of people seeking asylum in San Diego streets. Our shelter was at capacity, and there was simply no other plan in place to accommodate people exercising their legal human right to be here. We are better than this. We're grateful for this board action and encourage the entire board to vote in favor of this. Yes, immigration is a federal responsibility. Our county government has civic and moral obligation to ensure that our region is prepared and is proactive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Vargas, members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Michael Hopkins, CEO of Jewish Family Service. I commend Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson for bringing this urgent issue to support people seeking asylum. As you know, JFS has been operating the San Diego Rapid Response Migrant Shelter for over 4 years, assisting hundreds of folks each day. This issue is in our backyard. It's the border is 20 miles from this building. We do this work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your board letter calls for a plan to support asylum seekers and to ensure they are treated with dignity and humanity. Consider that for a moment, dignity and humanity. Every member of this board must vote in favor of dignity and humanity. Immigration is a federal responsibility, but leaving vulnerable people on the streets is unacceptable, inhumane, and dangerous. If we do not continue this work, which includes helping most immigrants travel to their destination cities, we are in jeopardy of further impacting the streets of our city and our county, and those already serving unhoused populations. With the urgent circumstances that lay ahead, we lack the resources and support from the federal government. Today's letter must be followed up swiftly with an implementation plan and funding to ensure our border communities can continue to help those fleeing danger and persecution. We must act now. The approval of this letter signifies a call to action for all levels of government, including local, state, federal, to collaborate and develop effective solutions, particularly for the benefit of our own community and our streets. Let's put politics aside and get back to what matters, treating people with dignity and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Kate Clark. I'm the Senior Director of Immigration Services at Jewish Family Service of San Diego, and I'm also a member of the San Diego Rapid Response Network Steering Committee. Thank you to Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson for their leadership in bringing this issue before the board to ensure asylum seekers are supported with dignity and respect when they arrive into our region. As many know, in late October of 2018, the San Diego Rapid Response Network answered the call that came through a hotline reporting 40-plus migrants who had been dropped on downtown San Diego streets with no resources by the federal government. Not only did the San Diego Rapid Response Network answer that call, we, alongside community members and organizations, many of whom are here today, stood up what is now known as the San Diego Rapid Response Network Migrant Shelter. We did this work without knowing an ounce of what it took to operate a respite shelter, but instead we compassionately and courageously stepped forward and envisioned the services that we wanted to provide to our guests. Indeed, Chair Vargas and Supervisor Fletcher, you were there in those early days volunteering, providing a lending hand, and helping us welcome. And since that time, we've welcomed more than 125,000 individuals through our shelter work. San Diego is a beautiful border community, and with that comes the critical opportunity and moral obligation to vision, create, and sustain a welcoming infrastructure that treats individuals with humanity and dignity. We welcome the county stepping forward as a supportive partner to join us in being part of this solution. Notably, today's vote is really just the first step. We look forward to working alongside the County of San Diego to leverage critical resources and ensure asylum seekers are supported. We urge all the supervisors to vote in favor of this board letter. The time is now to welcome with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, buenos dias. My name is Marta Flores, and I am a parishioner of Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in San Diego and a member of San Diego Organizing Project. I have been actively involved in immigration advocacy for over 30 years and a lifetime if I include that I am an immigrant to the United States. As Catholics, we are called to put our faith into action, to walk with people in their time of need. That is why I am here today. And I'm also proud to say that Our Lady of Guadalupe Church was that first community of faith that responded to having people dropped off in the middle of the night back in 2018. I ask you to please support the funding of the San Diego Rapid Response Network to develop this comprehensive regional plan to respond to the expected increase of asylum seekers in our border region and to ensure that asylum seekers and refugees are treated with dignity and respect. In 2018, San Diego Rapid Response Network and San Diego Organizing Project was successful in collaborating to serve asylum seekers that first evening, much to our surprise. Cesar Chavez said, "History will judge societies, governments, and their institutions, not by how they are and how well they serve the rich and powerful, but by how effectively they respond to the needs of people, the poor, and helpless." San Diego County has demonstrated it can be part of the solution, a vibrant part of the solution. The time is now to allocate funds and develop the regional infrastructure needed to help people seeking asylum with dignity and respect for a more fruitful and beneficial future for them and their families and society at large. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 5 additional speakers: Sonia Ocampo, Scott Santarosa, Dianora Reyna, Teresa Perez, and Erica Dierkes. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hello, good morning. My name is Judah Coker, and I am a North County community organizer with the San Diego Organizing Project. I work with faith-based institutions in Oceanside and Encinitas to address issues that will advance the collective well-being of residents across the region, such as housing and public safety. On Christmas Eve of last year, I got a call from partners in the region informing me that an estimate of 100 asylum seekers were to be dropped off at an Oceanside transit center that evening with no support or resources. When we arrived that night, the 4 of us tried our best to address immediate needs like food, water, toothbrushes, phone chargers, rides to the airport, and most importantly, places to stay. We did the best we could, but we were scrambling, and many folks left that night without such necessities to which every human being is entitled to. The San Diego Organizing Project supports this county action today and recognizes it as a significant step forward in providing the region with resources we need to be able to welcome with dignity and ensure that we and our neighbors who have arrived are never put in that position again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity for us to speak today. Thank you for your patience and listening. My name is Father Brad Mills. I'm one of the associate pastors at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish in Barrio Logan, the same parish as Marta that just spoke. And as she mentioned, for generations, our parish has been at the front lines of receiving immigrants from many parts of the world. And back in 2018, we intentionally received different immigrants as part of the Rapid Response Network. And I can say as a member of that parish, just the great need that exists for coordination, for funding to receive our immigrant brothers and sisters who are coming to this country seeking asylum in a law-abiding way. I remember several months back, I was walking in front of our parish, and there was a young man sitting in front of our parish. His name was Daniel from Venezuela. And he was legally admitted to come into the country to await his hearing. And he had no clue of where to go, no clue of where to go. And he was, let off somewhere around downtown San Diego, and he made his way to our church. And for several days was sitting in front of our church on the steps there, unsure of where to go. One of the, a homeless gentleman who also is frequently on the steps of our church, helped show him around, even let him stay in his tent overnight as he was figuring out what to do. And eventually he found his way. But my hope, my prayer is that the county, the city, the government, in different ways, we can plan and we can allocate funding as necessary to respond more adequately to those who are seeking to enter our country.
Next speaker, please.
Sonia Ocampo. Okay. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Sonia Ocampo.
Okay, good morning. My name is Sonia Ocampo.
Pertenezco también a la iglesia de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe y pues he estado ahí por 33 años.
Okay.
He estado por fe.
I belong to the Iglesia de Guadalupe. I've been there for 33 years. That is my faith.
Estoy aquí para pedirles a toda la Cámara, a cada uno de ustedes. Ustedes tienen el poder que necesitamos ahorita. Okay. Es el tiempo hoy, como dice ella. Es el tiempo hoy.
And I would like to ask all of you, Board of Supervisors, because you have the power, you have the time.
En el pasado del 2018, cuando venían las personas, la otra temporada, me tocó ayudarles ahí a poner los catres, a quitarlos, a ponerlos, y no era justo también para ellos, como si fueran delincuentes, llegaban a una hora y tenían que salirse a la otra por la escuela.
I remember in 2018 when we had these immigrants coming in, they would sleep in cots, like if they were like criminals, and it was not necessary for them to be that way or be treated that way.
Para tratarlos mejor con dignidad, tienen ustedes, nosotros tenemos el poder de ayudarles para que estén dignamente en un lugar donde les den todo las comodidades que todos, bendito Dios, tenemos.
Okay, and I believe that they need to be treated dignified. We have that. I think you and us, we can help them so they can be and have all the needs and everything that they need and be treated in a dignified way.
Cuando yo vine también por primera vez, yo también no sabía nada del sistema de Estados Unidos, no sabía el idioma.
Okay. Because when I came here to this country for the first time, I didn't know anything. I didn't know the language.
Y pienso para ellos es igual, lo mismo, ¿verdad? No tienen todo lo que es el sistema estadounidense y gracias por permitirnos estar aquí en su país.
And for them, it has to be the same. You know, they don't have any idea. They don't know how the system works here in the United States. And for me and on behalf of them, you know, thank you for letting us be here.
Tenemos una ciudad bien hermosa con un clima maravilloso y así queremos que toda la gente lo perciba.
Okay. We have a wonderful city. The climate is marvelous, and that's the way that we want others to see us.
Y gracias por escucharme hoy. Espero que tengo mi esperanza, tengo mi confianza en que vamos a decir sí.
Thank you for listening to me today. I hope and I trust that we're going to go ahead and say yes.
Que Dios los bendiga.
And God bless you.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 5 additional speakers in favor: Gianna Giacalone, Robert Contreras, Myra Hayden, Karen Fierro, and Crystal Irving. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Father Scott Santa Rosa, and I'm the pastor of Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish in Logan Heights and Barrio Logan, San Diego. As a parish, we are a member of SDOP, San Diego Organizing Project. And though I was not here in 2018, as you've heard from some of my parishioners and from my fellow associate pastor, that Our Lady of Guadalupe was part of the Rapid Response Network back in 2018. So I obviously speak in favor of the board letter, which you have put forth, Chairwoman Vargas and Supervisor Anderson. First and foremost, I speak as a person of faith. I believe my faith really asks of me that I receive the other and welcome the stranger. As a border city, I hope we will welcome those people seeking asylum in the U.S. as they await travel to other cities where they will wait for their court hearings. But I also speak to you this morning as a San Diegan. I believe it's in the best interest of all San Diegans. You have the best interests of all of us at heart as you allocate funds. I believe it's in the best interest of all, not only of those who are to arrive, but those of us already here, that there be a plan which is structured and funded so that these aspiring Americans can be kept safe, and so that all San Diegans can be assured that we too are safe and that there is plenty to go around in this moment of need. Not to plan or fund this arrival of people seeking asylum will place a burden on faith communities, and I certainly pledge our partnership with the county as a pastor of this parish, but we cannot do it alone, and we need your funding and your resources and your planning. So I'm grateful for this letter. Let San Diego show how a city can be a welcoming city to newcomers with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Dinora Reina Gutierrez, and I'm the Executive Director with the San Diego Organizing Project. We're a network of 24 congregations across the county. And as you've heard today, we are one of the founding members of the Rapid Response Network in 2018. We are here, obviously, in support of the letter in item 18 and believe the county must play a role and plan responsibly upon the arrival of asylum seekers into our region. Time and time again, our region has mobilized. We get stuff done. Our communities get stuff done. But I think we can be a lot more effective if we're planning responsibly and effectively. We have a responsibility, but most importantly, we're asking that the county continue to remain bold, to remain visionary, and continue to be an example for the entire country. It has been incredible to see what we've accomplished so far. Now it is time for us to plan long-term in our region. Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas, Supervisor Anderson, for your vision, for being bold, and for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Gianna Giacalone, pronounced she, her, and I'm a volunteer with the ACLU and a resident of District 4. I'm here today to show my support for people seeking asylum. I believe it is our community's responsibility as a border town to provide resources and support for people seeking asylum and offer a place of safety and refuge while they are working through the difficult process that is seeking asylum. This is an opportunity for the County Board of Supervisors to lead and show people that we can and should provide the solution. We need to create short and long-term plans to address migrant-related humanitarian needs so that we can address the current problem as well as prevent future crises. The comprehensive support outlined in this letter is a good starting point, but we must also execute it properly and push for funding needed to carry this out. While immigration policy is a federal responsibility, we have a responsibility to not leave vulnerable people on our streets. In anticipation of the end of Title 42, we need to ensure that we provide temporary support and sustainable sheltering infrastructure. Having grown up in San Diego, I've seen the impact that decisions like this can have on friends, family, and neighbors. My hope is that the people of San Diego show compassion in supporting this humanitarian issue so that we can create a San Diego that truly welcomes and supports our immigrant community, and it starts with decisions like this. I urge each member of the Board of Supervisors to vote yes and support this letter. I want to thank Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson for your leadership. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Karen Fierro Ruiz. I use she, her. I'm a constituent of Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer in District 3 and until recently lived in District 5. I serve as the Federal Policy and Advocacy Manager at United We Dream, the largest immigrant youth-led organization in the country fighting for the dignity and fair treatment of immigrants in the U.S. Today, I urge you to support the actions outlined in the letter presented today by Chair Nora Vargas and Supervisor Joel Anderson to create a comprehensive response plan and take action to treat asylum seekers that arrived through San Diego with dignity and compassion. I myself traveled to the U.S. as a child at the age of 5. I have lived in this country undocumented to this day, and I wholeheartedly believe that everyone deserves a safe place to call home and to live a life without fear. San Diego County has the opportunity to become an example of the courageous leadership our country needs today. Please vote yes on this letter, and thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Robert Contreras. I'm a volunteer with the ACLU, and I'm also a student at UCSD. And I'm a member or resident of District 3. Nobody should be left outside in the streets in cold San Diego weather. It's simply the inhumane thing to do. And the county can do so much better, I know that. This shouldn't be the first experience people have upon entering this country. Because San Diego is a very multicultural and binational community. It's ingrained into who San Diego is. And people here come here to just simply live a better life and contribute so much to this multiculturally rich city. Above all, it's the right thing to do. People seeking asylum deserve these resources just like anyone else. When my parents first came to this country, they didn't have the resources for our family, but when the county back in LA did have resources, it provided food on our table and we never went to sleep hungry. And the same resources can be provided to people seeking asylum or coming into this country. And lastly, it's important to note that people coming into our communities will be part of our schools, our neighbors, our community spaces, and they deserve the same treatment of dignity and respect that everyone does. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 5 additional speakers: William Engels, Kim Knox, Gabriel Guzman, Tammy Alvarado, and Yolanda Meneses. I've called your name. Please come forward.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Mayra Soto Gonzalez Hayden. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I have been a longtime resident of District 2. My family immigrated to the United States when I was 4. My father was lucky enough to have an employer who could sponsor our family and allowed us to acquire legal residency status and eventually citizenship. This is just one among a long list of privileges that I can share with you that allowed my family to be on the path that I am today. I understand that my story has a happy ending where my parents' sacrifices provided me with a life of so much opportunity, and my story continues as I stand before you today to try and help build an even better life of opportunity for many others. The stories which the board has an opportunity to positively impact today are a lot more different than mine is. The paths have led so many to flee their country that is filled with trauma, with fear, with violence, and in search of safety. Safety, a basic need which they could not be promised in their homes. While immigration policy is a federal responsibility, how we prepare to respond to asylum seekers is this board's responsibility. This is not a political issue, this is a humanitarian issue. With the lifting of Title 42's restriction in sight, it is the perfect opportunity for San Diego County to prepare and create an action plan. Doing so will allow us to prepare to welcome these people with dignity and respect, the dignity and respect that all human beings deserve. I urge you to please vote yes and support the board letter written by Chair Nora Vargas and Supervisor Joel Anderson. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas, Vice Chair Tara Lawson-Remer, and supervisors. My name is Crystal Irving, and I'm proud to serve as president of SEIU Local 221, representing over 13,000 workers in this region. I want to thank Chairwoman Vargas and Supervisor Anderson for putting forward this board letter to ensure that people seeking asylum are welcomed with dignity, humanity, respect, and care. SEIU 221 is proud to be a longtime partner with the Rapid Response Network, but the network can't do it alone. We need the County of San Diego to lead the way to ensure adequate resources and support for people seeking asylum, and this board letter gets us one step closer. At 221, we say now is the time, but today I stand before you saying the time is now to enhance preparation for the arrival of migrant people and lift Title 42 restrictions. Thank you.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite additional speakers in favor: Jose Lopez, Sarah Guzman, Aaron Suramoto Grassi, Clint Carney, and Catherine Rhodes.
Good morning to everyone. My name is William Ingalls. I am a volunteer with Jewish Family Services at their asylum shelter. So many people who have spoken before me have said inspiring things. A gentleman earlier brought up Maya Angelou and her vision that the history of America be read out of one book. All I can add to that is that that book was written by Howard Zinn, and he said that the cry of the poor is not always just, but unless you listen to it, you will never know what justice is. Now, we are asked to think about the greatness of this country, and the greatness of this country is often phrased in terms that sound very imperial. We are told about our military supremacy, our economic prosperity, and our advanced technology. But I believe that the greatness of our society consists in how we treat those people who cannot protect and support themselves. I did not intend to address this point, but it has been passed over in silence, which is that it should not be ignored that U.S. foreign policy towards every country south of its border over the course of the last century has been an uninterrupted chain of abuses of power, economic, military aggression. And I think that if we were to feed, clothe, shelter, and house every man, woman, and child at the border right now, we would not even repay 1% of the debt that we owe to those we have trespassed against. We cannot change the past or predict this future, but in the present, there is great promise and great peril right now in this moment of poignancy. Cesar Chavez, Maya Angelou, Emma Lazarus, who wrote the poem that rests at the base of the Statue of Liberty, they have one thing in common, unfortunately, which is that they are gone. We, however, are here, and we have it within our power now to act with the elementary moral standards that we were taught in kindergarten, to treat others as we wish to be treated, and to show kindness towards all. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and supervisors. I'm Kim Knox, president of the League of Women Voters of San Diego. I'm also speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters of North County, San Diego today. The San Diego League has had a committee actively working on immigration issues for the last 6 years and is very supportive of welcoming migrants to San Diego County without exposing them to inhumane conditions. Since we expect Title 42 to be terminated, which could allow more people to cross the border, San Diego County must be prepared for a sudden increase in migrants. Shelters must be well funded by the county so they can assist people in their legal, travel, and basic needs. Border Patrol has been known to separate families when they drop people on the streets or at bus stations, often at night. Rapid Response Network volunteers pick some of them up and take them to safety, but others are targets for abuse and abduction. The county needs to have adequate shelter space so Border Patrol can take them to a shelter 100% of the time when they arrive in San Diego. The League applauds the county for all the support they have given to the migrant shelters and urges you to not only continue that funding, but to plan for expected increased migration across our border. Please vote to enhance preparation for the arrival of migrants. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Vargas, supervisors. My name is Erin Surmoto-Grassi. I'm the Policy Director at Alliance San Diego. I'm here because Alliance San Diego stands in support of the board letter put forward by Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson. As a District 2 resident, very happy to see my supervisor put that forward. As a border community, we have a responsibility to welcome newcomers. Fortunately, San Diego has a long history of doing so. Immigrants and refugees make up the very fabric of our communities. Each level of government, local, state, and federal, has a responsibility to uplift the dignity of each person and to protect human rights in the region. We're happy to see our county stepping up to assume full responsibility and take on this role. And for that reason, Alliance San Diego supports the board letter and urges all supervisors to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes, and some of you probably don't know, but I was born in Lima, Peru. So was my mother. So my mother is an immigrant, and I have dual citizenship, or I had dual citizenship at one point. But so when we came to America, we moved to San Carlos. And when we were there, people from Peru started coming, crossing the border, probably illegal, some of them migrants, and they would come to our house. They would have a note from wherever they had, and then when some wars started or things, violence started in all the different Guatemala, Mexico, Nicaragua, Colombia, whenever there was any type of violence, all of a sudden we would have an influx of groups of those people coming over to our house and just being able to stay there until they moved on, which is great. But here, finally, here, Chairman Vargas, please do this. My favorite documentation, periodic financial report, right here. This, you could fund everything. Fund 6104 or ARPA Trust Fund, it has $554 million. You're, at the rate you're going, you're only spending $56 million a year. It will take you 10 years to spend the money at the rate you're going right now. You have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on this right now. What I would like you to take over Fiesta Island. It's not City of San Diego property, it's state property. I want you to take the Sunrunner parking lot over there by Jewish Family Services and have migrants there. I want you to create so much space for everybody that every homeless person has it, and you could all blame it, you know, say, oh, we're doing it for the migrants, but you're really doing it for the homeless and the migrants. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to take land, to say you're in charge. You're not going to let the City of San Diego not let you have the Lucky Duck Foundation's tent over in Balboa Park. You can do it. This money right here is yours to spend, and you have to spend it, I forgot, maybe 2 years, 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sara Guzman, and I'm with ACE, and I also live in District 4. I'm here in support of the action plan created, as well as the migrant communities that are seeking asylum. The County of San Diego is a beautiful community, like due to a large part, due to like the vibrant immigrant community that lives and works here. And as a border community, we have continuously welcomed people seeking asylum who are fleeing danger and persecution in their home countries. And then also, just to put things into perspective, right? The common reason that so many folks are fleeing to begin with is due to U.S. intervention in their home countries. So the least our county could do is have an action plan in place to have these communities be welcomed with safe and humane places of refuge. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Clint Carney with Survivors of Torture International. Thank you for taking another important step to create the most welcoming county on the southern border. It's always important to know who's coming here and where they're coming from. The Office of Refugee Resettlement recognizes a study that finds that 44% of refugees, asylum seekers, and asylees are survivors of systematic torture carried out in other countries by brutal dictators, government officials, and unchecked gangs. A small number of migrants stay in San Diego, a large number move on, so we really thank you for taking care of all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call the speakers in opposition of this item, I'd like to do a final call for the speakers in favor. Jose Lopez, Gabriel Guzman, Tammy Alvarado, Yolanda Meneses, Teresa Perez, and Erica Dierkes. I've called your name. Please come forward. We'll hear from the speakers in opposition of this item. As your name is called, please come forward. Mike Borello, Audra, Mark, Paul Henkin, and Consuelo.
Mark, of course we'd like to help the migrants. However, we haven't helped our own yet, and we are in a total slave system. None of these people are aware that the Federal Reserve and the way it's been set up, we're going to go bankrupt. Also, we literally have 333 million people. That's about 1/3 of a billion, with a population of 7 billion on the planet, and almost all of them are going to want to come here. It is absolutely impossible for us to save everyone. We can't free everyone. We haven't even freed ourselves. We're going to go bankrupt if we don't stop the bankers, like the Founding Fathers said. And also, you guys, not necessarily this board, it was a while back, probably, I don't know when, 2016 or so, but the San Diego City accepted, say, a $100 million grant from Sandag to do a global agenda. This is totally against any type of constitutional republic. None of you were asked. None of you knew. Now they're doing a propaganda campaign to tell you it's all about climate change and reasons why you have to cut down and reduce your standard of living. The truth is, if you wanted to stop murder, you wouldn't pay the richest murderers, or excuse me, you wouldn't have the richest murderers pay for credits to murder. But they have the richest corporations pay for carbon credits. We're totally corrupt already. And we've got homeless vets, we've got a homeless population. In 1980, there wasn't so much of a homeless population, and we had less than $500 billion worth of debt. Now it's around $31.5 trillion. This is absolutely unsustainable. Who's going to be the first to come here? The cartel. A lot of people won't be able to come here, but the cartel will come here. Most of our policemen will be cartel before you can say dip. And this is what happened with the European Union, Brexit. They're trying to get out. They still can't stop this now.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
We just can't afford it.
Consuelo, to the people in the audience who are begging government for help, of course you're going to get what you're asking for. They have to come across like they're actually listening and doing something for the people to save face. It's obvious that you have not learned anything from history, though. It's also obvious that you are not paying attention to what these public servants have been doing. Understand what, in fact, they are doing. They could care less about you or your wants and needs. Everything is to fulfill an agenda. Wake up to this agenda, Agenda 2030. It's not a conspiracy. It's been years in the making. It may be beyond the comprehension for the statist slaves, but please remember, the same government you are asking for help from is the same government that has done the most atrocious things to its minorities. It's time to stop falling into the same trap. Government is not here to help you. Government only enables dependency. They want us to depend on them for everything. Look around you. Gas, food, electricity, homelessness. We need to help ourselves. We must do what we can for the human race, one race. They promote the division. The government has never, will never genuinely be of service to any of us. All they do is create more victims, more dependent slaves, more room for them to control us in everything we do. They are master manipulators. When will you wake up? When will you realize that we've been programmed, indoctrinated? We have been slaves to their laws, their pharmaceutical mafia, their organizations that have only kept us all down. Government has people believing that you are a minority. You are different race. Let me remind you, there is only one race. That is the human race. We are different colors, different cultures, but, oh shit. In fact, we are in one race, sorry. They control us by divide and conquer. Wake up. We are merely poor, pathetic slaves, constantly begging.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Paul Hinken. Joel mentioned Governor Newsom. Let me note that he's the reason for the foreign peace officer scam. As you say, all San Diego residents deserve the opportunity to live in a dignified manner in communities that provide them with a safe and supportive environment. So I hope these people are not mixed in with the general population until they are thoroughly vetted, unlike our deputy sheriffs. But then, I hope we can all welcome them as productive San Diegans. We need a plan for this now, not just more talk. Interestingly, it's interesting how you seem to treat these immigrants in shelters better than the homeless, or you want to treat them. I also hope that we can work with the feds and the foreign governments to reduce the numbers of dissatisfied or oppressed people who would otherwise flood into our country at the source. And calling them migrants, by the way, instead of immigrants, reminds me of the migrant worker thing in the 1950s. And it tells me, you know, what you really think of all these people. Thank you for listening.
Next speaker, please.
Mike Borrello. So I don't disagree that we have a humanitarian issue, and I strongly agree that it should be addressed in a compassionate way. But what I want to talk about is what is not being addressed in this agenda item or in these councils, and not being mentioned at all in the mainstream media. And that's the fact that, yeah, 20 miles south of us, we have a war going on between cartels. And that's what's driving a lot of this chaos and confusion that's going on. We need to balance what we're going to do with security. We're not addressing that at all. We're welcoming in this agenda item that Title 42 be dissolved, but it's the last thread hanging on to our security on that border. That goes away, and we're going to have crime. We're going to have this war spilling over into the streets of San Diego. Drugs, crime, and it will overwhelm our police. They'll have to call in the military. We're going to be on the front lines. We're going to be seeing some of this happening here. So unless we start to do something about that, and we just roll out the welcome wagon, but if we don't address security, everybody's going to be suffering, not just the immigrants, but the citizens of San Diego as well. So please do something about security. You should, in this letter, you should not request that Title 42 go away, but that they be kept in place and that further security measures be taken for our border. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
You know my name, I use the pronouns cat, mouse, cats. And I'm actually seeking asylum in my own country. It's crazy. There is no protection or safety or refuge when they come after the people. I'm surprised anybody wants to come here. But it's interesting that you're treating them better than the homeless. This is a charter county. You could actually say we're not going to open up the border. I mean, the border isn't open, and yet people are flooding in droves. So imagine when that's lifted and they're just coming. So like Mike's saying, what are we going to do about that? Just let them, like, screw the people that actually live here. Let's make sure that they are safe and protected and have immediate help. And you give them transportation elsewhere. And it's like the homeless, you're like, No, we can't help you. There's no shelters, but we'll open it up in a weather storm, but we can't have it open all the time. But then you're gonna make sure that these people are sheltered right away when your own people are suffering. I mean, it's ridiculous, and you're actually like vaccinating them upon release. So is that like, if they say they don't want to be vaccinated, do you send them back? What happens there? But you could say, we don't want this to happen. 8 to 1,000 people were released in December. We just did the homeless count. How many of those are on there that's gonna help you get funding? And why would you wanna close the border? You don't wanna do that. You don't wanna protect the people. You could do those things. But no, instead, you let people be beaten in this building and act like you're here to protect and you know, help people. Well, if I can't even find asylum in my own country, and you're gonna give it to others, there's a frickin' problem here. And you guys will never address it.
Thank you. For the record, that speaker is Audra. Now we'll hear from those individuals that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll start with our first caller.
Yeah, my name's Robert Francis, and I live in District 2. I'm speaking in favor, or for yes, for this motion. I've worked directly with asylum seekers in San Diego via various volunteer organizations, many of whom are represented here today, such as Jewish Family Services, the ACLU, and I was even a former member of SEIU at one point in my life. But I have full-time employment that is unrelated to immigration, but I do my best to carve out time to assist whenever I can, however I can. This has provided me an opportunity to learn about these people who are fleeing danger and persecution firsthand. And that experience reminded me of work I've done as a continuing education teacher. I worked with asylum seekers from various parts of the world and those fleeing disasters, such as the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. While demographics might be different, some realities remain the same. A reality for San Diego is that this poses an opportunity for the County Board of Supervisors to show that they are willing and ready to be part of a solution and a model. This cannot be achieved without future funding directly from the County of San Diego. It's my hope that San Diego not only is seen as a welcoming place for families seeking safety and freedom in the United States, but also a national model for this work. This is largely contingent upon investment in advance of the ending of Title 42 and in being proactive in strategy. We have wonderful people, organizations, and networks in San Diego willing and able to do the necessary work, and I've worked with many of those. They will uphold their end of this effort. Now we need to enable them to do so with proper funding. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Supervisors. I'm Dr. David Gangsey. I'm a resident of Supervisor Fletcher's District 4. I enthusiastically endorse the letter of Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson and urge its full implementation. I'm a clinical psychologist who has spent decades working in programs serving migrants and asylum seekers fleeing persecution, danger, and hardship, and seeking safety and a chance to rebuild shattered lives through their legal right to apply for asylum in the United States. This included 8 years as clinical director with Survivors of Torture International, a leading San Diego nonprofit, and current service on the board of directors of the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial County. Over many years, I have become intimately familiar with the excellent services and programs of the nonprofit organizations that now comprise the San Diego Rapid Response Network. I confirm from direct experience the letter's assertion that our county's approach to asylum seekers is a model for the region, the state, and the country, both in practical structure and humanitarian values. 3 things stand out to me from the letter. First, current circumstances require an immediate increase in capacity to provide services and resources that our system already offers at an expert level, especially shelter for new arrivals. County funding is critical to accomplish this. Second, the county must advocate widely and particularly to the federal government to address the current crisis as well as longstanding need for immigration reform. Third, providing resources to asylum seekers simultaneously and explicitly serves the interests and welfare of all county residents, most obviously in presenting an increase in homelessness. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Humaira Yusufi. I'm the Deputy Director at the Partnership for the Advancement of the Americans, PANA. I want to thank Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson for bringing forth this much-needed motion. As a border county, we have the opportunity to welcome those who are coming to our communities in search of safety and dignity. At PANA, we see firsthand the needs of asylum seekers who arrive at our office every day in need of basic resources such as shelter and food. The current rapid response network provides temporary respite, which is absolutely necessary, but I want to urge the board to also make sure we can create a comprehensive and inclusive plan that addresses the varying needs of asylum seekers. We are seeing more and more folks who are coming from all over the world, including my home country of Afghanistan, who need more than just that temporary respite. They need more long-term transitional housing so that they can get on their feet. So I urge you all to support this motion today and also create a comprehensive plan that addresses all the varying needs of our asylum seekers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Kevin Stevenson. I support this motion. I don't care who's president, Trump, Biden, whoever. Title 42 is a complete affront to this country. It is a middle finger to the very concept of constitutional asylum seeking. Asylum seekers should be granted their appeals to come to America, and we should not keep turning them away, as we've been doing a lot, especially since the pandemic. Now, I know that the Supreme Court has had their finger in this whole process, but not to get into that. Anyways, but back to the local level, I don't like this false choice between do we help the asylum seekers or do we help the homeless/veterans? Why does it have to be a choice? Why can't we help all of the above? So that's the question I'm going to pose to the Audras and the Consuelos in the audience, because I hear you in there. I hear you in there. And you can yell at me all you want, but that is a very legitimate question. Why is this a choice? It shouldn't be a choice. We should be able to help all of the above. We have the resources and we have the infrastructure. So please do the right thing. Support this motion, support item 18, and let's help these migrants. Let's help these asylum seekers. And yeah, let's just be a welcoming San Diego County. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Truth. Then give up your parents' house, you worm. The item says San Diego is part of a thriving binational region. It sounds like it goes both ways, but it doesn't. It means two countries under regional governance, just like the completely unrepresentative fascist Sandag board. The item also says the federal government must prioritize reforming our country's asylum and immigration systems. I agree with that. The process is too slow, too expensive, and generally seems to allow criminals to just walk right on in without any background checks. What this item refers to as the street release of hundreds by federal authorities. Nora and Joel want $800 million from FEMA for, quote, a comprehensive preparedness plan to ensure people entering the U.S. will not add to the homeless crisis by offering immediate sheltering, long-term physical space, and surplus property that can be used by state and federal agencies, end quote. And you get a free home, and you get a free home. But you Americans, no, not under my watch. Joel, it's funny to see you pretending to care not only about homeless people, but also about North's undocumented illegals, when in reality, you've allowed them to be dumped into El Cajon just like the homeless. Except instead of motel vouchers, they get cell phones for Uber rides to who knows where across the county and across the country. If you didn't really support those kinds of illegal activities, Joel, then you'd reject federal debt dollars. But you don't ever do that because you love what you call free money. Last year, Nora praised the decision to end what she called, quote, a Trump-era policy that under the guise of public health denied people a fundamental right, end quote. Sorry to tell you, Nora, but you're actually just like Trump. You denied people their fundamental rights by locking down the county under the guise of public health. The only difference is that you don't get an era named after you. Remember, you're just lucky to be here, barely surviving the jungle, temporarily. So go to this item as usual.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Pari Medina. I am a member of ACE in favor of this item 18. We need a human, dignified, integrated plan for those who are seeking asylum to get freedom. They need proper, healthy shelters with enough space, food, medical resources without punishing them to wait across the border or jail-like facilities. Stop family separation, stop overcrowding facilities, stop medical neglection, stop the mental abuse and trauma, provide immigrants with integrational programs, proper registration, legal representation, and dignified support to move on. We don't need more homeless on the street. Please vote for this solution. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lasman.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I really want to thank my colleagues for bringing this item forward. It's really a testament to where we are as a community to have this leadership that you've brought, but also the partnership and the advocacy and the leadership of all the community partners and the NGOs that came here today that I know have been really involved in thinking and conceptualizing how to continue moving forward on this work and have been the backbone of this work for the last many, many years since the Rapid Response Network was formed, but even before. So I really want to thank our community partners, our NGO partners, and thank my colleagues for bringing this forward. I just think it's so important for us to acknowledge that this is the role that we as a county must play. We must be a welcoming community. It is part of what our core values are as Americans to ensure that people who are coming to this country to seek a better life, because they are seeking asylum, because they're fleeing violence and persecution in their home country, places like Ukraine, where my great-grandparents come from, but all across the world that come over to our borders and have been unjustly and unfairly and inhumanely detained for years due to a public health order that is no longer applicable. Now we have a responsibility to do right by people coming into our community and give people a chance. We also have a responsibility to make sure that we're not leading to more of a public health crisis or leading to more homelessness on our streets because we're being blind or not being prepared. And this board item today is going to make sure that we're making a plan, that we're getting in front of what we know is coming to our community, and that we're ready to invest in our community and do the right thing by people coming to San Diego County. So again, I'm really just grateful, Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson, for your leadership, but also I think for the vision and how thoughtful this proposal is designed. That's not about the county displacing partners, but is really about the county uplifting and working with our partners who've been on the front lines of this issue for so long. And we want you to know that we're here for you, we are partnering with you, and we're gonna do this together. So thank you again, and I'm very proud to be on a board that can support this today.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Thank you. I want to thank Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson. Few issues get demagogued more intensely than the issue of immigration. And so the ability to come together and say we're going to confront the situation we face on our streets, and we're going to do it with compassion and respect, is something that I think should be applauded and recognized. I also want to say a special thank you to all of the service providers, the Rapid Response Network, everyone who's been involved in this issue for so long. It was my very first time sitting on this dais, my very first board meeting, when we embarked on the action to take the old family courthouse and provide that as a location with the heroic work of our nonprofits to come in and confront the situation we faced at the time, the end of the Safe Release Program. And it's been your ongoing work for 5 years now, plus the work you did before that, that continues to do the difficult and hard work every single day. And we appreciate tremendously all of what you do and what you'll continue to do. And a special thank you to our faith leaders who showed up. It was just a month and a half ago. We commemorated the birth of an individual who at the time was a refugee fleeing King Herod. And fortunately, there was a location available to them where they were welcomed in. And I think that basic notion of looking out for the stranger, I heard the stranger and you welcomed me in, the least among us. There are a lot of reasons why we should care about this issue that are absent from the policy considerations or other. It's just the basic human dignity we show for one another. And so I appreciate all of that. As we move forward as a county, we're all acutely aware that the state devoted significant resources, resources that are far in excess of what any county government would have available to them. I think we're going to have to really pivot and shift to the federal government to continue to find the significant resources we need to make sure that we can fulfill the pledge and commitment that we're making here today. And so I know we as a board are incredibly committed to do that work, to make sure that those are there, to make sure they're matched with our providers to step in and fill any gaps that may be needed to ensure that we do right by each and every one of these individuals. But there is significant work ahead, and we know this day will come when Title 42 will be lifted, and I think it's really important that we do the work now to make sure the resources are lined up, the services are available, the locations are secured, so that we're in a situation where we're prepared. And I appreciate tremendously Chair Vargas and Supervisor Anderson's actions to make sure that we're doing that, and look forward to working with all of you as we continue to try and do right by folks who are here with us. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. And I want to, say this is, I'm really happy to see this board letter. This is a massive problem that we had right before Christmas of this past year on Friday. Christmas was on Sunday, and on Friday we got short notice from the federal government that they were going to be dropping off asylum seekers at transit stops here in San Diego County. And just to be clear, the asylum seekers are people that have been, I guess, already vetted and granted the opportunity of a asylum hearing here in the U.S. So the federal government was dropping them off at our transit centers, primarily because our other entities like Jewish Family Services and others, and Catholic Charities had, the Christmas story. The inn was full. There was no available beds anymore. We were at capacity. So unfortunately, in North County, the transit center where several hundred people were dropped off, the Rancho del Oro Sprinter Station, it doesn't have bathrooms. There's not even a gas station or a 7-Eleven or any sort of resource within walking distance to get help. And it was a very cold night, and so I couldn't believe it was happening. But I did reach out to Universidad Popular, a Latino organization in North County, and let them know about the what was coming and if they had any resources for help. And also the Max Dispasti, I think I have his name right, from the LGBTQ Center in Oceanside. I guess he gave several rides to people to the airport from Oceanside. So, San Diego County, even without our help, stepped up, which is great. The organizations, they saw a need and said, hey, this isn't right, for anybody to be just dropped at any transit center with no possibility of any resources. And it is, as Supervisor Fletcher pointed out, the federal government, they need to step up and help out here. This is their issue, I think, that they're creating, and this is putting our resources and our people at risk. I think it's inhumane for not only asylum seekers, but also the residents of San Diego County. So I'm in support of this. I think it's smart to be looking ahead and getting as prepared as we can for when Title 42 gets lifted. And I appreciate Supervisor Anderson and Chair Vargas for bringing this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so I just once again want to just thank Supervisor Anderson for your partnership. I think that now more than ever we have an opportunity to lead by example as a county, and I really pride myself in I'm really proud that we are finding solutions and that we're doing it together across party lines, and I think that's really important, and that's what this board does really well. It's really important, I think, and there were some comments that were made today that I want to make sure that we emphasize that I think it's really important to offer solutions and not all this fear-mongering about what this is or isn't. I commit myself to really continuing to advocate for a fair and efficient immigration system, but I want to make sure that for the record we emphasize that seeking asylum is a human right protected under the international and U.S. laws, and that asylum seekers become integral members of our communities, and that anti-immigrant and anti-refugee racist rhetoric is really used to instill fear in our communities, and it really is nonsense. And I want to emphasize, and I want to make sure that you all know that 73.4% of Americans support and believe that we should provide access to U.S. asylum seekers and people fleeing for persecution, violence, and they do believe that we should be doing this with humanity, dignity, and respect. And with that, I ask for a vote, please.
Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
All right. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is item number 13. So we'll do item number 13 and 14, and then we're going to go ahead and take a break if that's okay with my colleagues. Yeah? Okay. Item number 13.
Madam Chair, I just have a couple questions of staff, and for the sake of time, they may not need to do a presentation, but just simply address my concerns.
Okay.
Does that work?
Of course.
So what I liked about the Evaluation Advisory Committee was that we all had some appointments that we gave. And when I first got elected and came to this board, I noticed that there were some holes in the analysis when the county would go out and ask for public opinion or public input. I suspected you wanted me to start, Chair Vargas, or I didn't know if you wanted to go to public opinion. So the concern I had is we were asking immigrant communities, not in their native language, questions, and we were basing policy without proper input because they didn't speak Spanish, they didn't speak English, they spoke Farsi or they spoke Arabic, and as a result, we skewed our results and we based plans without the very people that we were planning for. And so my question is, once we eliminate this, what are we going to do with the Office of Evaluation, Performance and Analysis Analytics to make sure that 500,000 unincorporated people who have no city representation except for this board have a seat at the table, and that we front load their concerns to ensure that we have a proper outcome? And I'm not, look, facts and figures are important, and I support that, but they're only as good as the truth that they're based on. In the old days, when I was in college, they would say garbage in to your computer would produce garbage out, no matter how fast and how clever the computer was. So I was just looking to find out, how are we going to engage the very people that solely rely on us to lead them and to do the best for them? So that was my concern, and I thought if perhaps they could just address that, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Let me introduce Ricardo Basurto de Villa, who's our Chief Evaluation Officer, and I think he can address that and any other questions that the board may have.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Anderson.
Chairwoman Vargas, members of the board, Ricardo Basurto Davila, Chief Evaluation Officer for the county. I have a short presentation on the request that we're bringing to you today. I'll go through it and then I'll more specifically address your comment.
Ricardo?
Yes.
If you can, for the sake of time, they're going to ask you to go ahead and skip the presentation
Sure, we
and
can do that.
just address the supervisor's questions and any others.
Yep.
So specifically, how we're going to make sure that under the new plan going forward, that the unincorporated area would be represented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
The intent of our request is really just to give OEPA, or the Office of Public Works, as you named us a few months ago, more flexibility in how we engage our technical experts, who we engage at different times, and just ensure that at the right time we have access to the experts we need. I completely understand the concern of what this means, not only for your constituents, but in general for the representation of the experts that we're going to engage. What I'll say is, we have various different mechanisms through which we're going to ensure to get input from across the county. Working with on the annual strategic research plan, we have a commitment to the community engagement, and we're already thinking about how we can ensure that this engagement is going to be representative from all districts. In addition, when the next step in the development of the strategic research plan is to get input from each board office, which includes yours. And that will ensure that as we plan our priorities for research, evaluation, other data analytics in general, your areas of priority will be taken into account. That's it. If there is any language that would make you more comfortable with the board letter, I think we would be open to that. The only thing we ask is just for more flexibility so that we can engage with experts, that are not only locals to the county, but also in some cases we may want to engage national, worldwide experts, and also that we have more flexibility to engage them at different times, because the current provisions in the ordinance, basically mean that we will have the same group of experts for, half of them for 4 years and the other half for at least 2 years. And that doesn't give us flexibility to adjust, as our priorities evolve each year in terms of research and evaluation, we need a little more flexibility. But in terms of ensuring representation of unincorporated areas, or in general of all districts in the county, that we fully agree that it's important for us to have that. And we can make sure, we don't have a specific plan right now for what would constitute the next version of the Evaluation Advisory Committee, but I can assure you that we can guarantee that it includes representativeness from unincorporated areas, and I'll be happy to keep your office in the loop, and every supervisor, of course, in the loop as we make plans for how we're going to engage our experts.
Supervisor Anderson, let me also chime in here. As part of the recommendation is that it would go to the CAO's office in terms of the chief evaluation. So Ricardo will be working with our office, and part of that will be to ensure that we work with all district offices.
If I may, I'm happy with that. I'm happy to make a motion in favor of this. I would also suggest that San Diego is full of very smart people. They already have a great knowledge of our communities, and perhaps that we could first look, when it's appropriate, at experts locally before we seek experts outside of our area that have no sensibilities about perhaps a subject matter that's so close to the unincorporated. But with that, I'd like to make a motion in favor.
A second.
Okay, well, I was going to second as well, but happy to defer to my colleague. I'm glad that this initiative has such strong support among all of us. I just wanted to say I appreciate that you bring this forward, because I know how important it is to have diverse viewpoints and diverse expertise from across different kinds of backgrounds in making sure that you have the input that you need to guide this work, and that the work the county does is so complex and so diverse and hits so many different elements of our community, including our unincorporated residents, as well as folks in our incorporated cities and with different challenges and different program streams. Having come from an academic background myself, I am well aware that no small group of individuals would be able to effectively strategize and advise on that. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I also understand the value of ensuring you have the flexibility to come to board offices, get input as needed, make sure we have the right kind of evaluations that are going to be really rigorous and targeted for the programs that we're looking at. So I understand that as the intent here is to give you the tools and the toolbox you need to make sure that we really are laser focused on evidence and data as we look at what works and doesn't work in our county. So again, thank you for just innovating to make this happen.
Fantastic. So I don't think we need to make a motion to add, but just to make sure that it's on the record, that we want to make sure that there's full participation of unincorporated area representatives, those who live and are familiar with unincorporated area issues and challenges when the county is engaging with other folks, so that we can address Supervisor Anderson's concerns. All right, we got it. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 4 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 1 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 1 e-comment in opposition of this item. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 13 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. All speakers are in opposition to this item. As your name is called, please come forward. Paul Hinken, Mark, and Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Oh, I guess I'm the first one. My remarks will be brief. Hi, you probably know me. I'm Paul Henkin. Let's see. So it looks like the Office of Evaluation, Performance, and Analytics, going by the acronym OEPA, wants to add equity in operations 2. I guess it might distract us from the really important stuff like the homeless or psychos or foreigners about to overwhelm the system, things like that. Now, equity, I mean, it's a strange concept, but I mean, reading all the equity statements in the agenda and the way the word is kind of bandied about, it seems to really sort of pit various groups and subgroups against each other. The blacks on the one hand, the Hispanics, Latinos, indigenous. I mean, it's like each one has their sort of separate area. I mean, even species. There's some species involved in equity. I don't know if you ever got that litter box, but anyway, that's really about all I have to say, that the whole equity thing is ridiculous, and I mean, I don't see any need for an office to add equity to operations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Mark or Audra?
Mark, if you look at this, item 13, it says sustainable impact statement. And it states that the OPA will study some of the most critical sustainable issues of relevance to the county, including environmental, economic, health, and social issues. This is all totally related to Agenda 21, which you guys have agreed to contractually, getting a $100 million grant. So we had nothing to say about it, and we're totally screwed unless everybody gets together and stops these people, because that is neither a democracy nor a constitutional republic, which is what we are. So obviously, for instance, you're going to be promoting climate change. And already, I'm going to talk later about water and how there was a meeting just last week, how they want the people in the East County, Joel's people, I believe, to be drinking recycled sewage. The people in La Jolla would never, ever stand for that. But that's their plan, even though there's primary water everywhere. All of this is about making everything not available. It raises prices when there just isn't enough of something. And that makes it so you can maintain control. That's what the globalists want. They're buying our water, they're buying our farmland, they're buying our resources, and we're going to be totally screwed. And these people are helping them. They've sold us out. They're contractually agreed to do this. And now the board, whoever did it in the first place, never had the right to do it. They probably keep doing it every so many years. Maybe you guys have agreed to it again in your term. It's totally unconstitutional. It is treason. And everybody better stop it right now. And 8 seconds left to discuss the most important thing that's going in our country. By the way, there's no way. Nora, I have just 2 questions for you. How you support it if 3...
Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
No, I'd actually like to have a question for Nora. Like if 3 times the people...
Next speaker, please.
All of California, how are you going to address that?
Next speaker, please.
I was hoping for an actual answer.
You'll never get one.
Feel free to reach out to my office anytime, sir.
Oh, you know who I am? I use the pronouns bush, shrub, and trees. Just find it interesting. I mean, as Mark was saying, people are getting sewer water. They're not planning on it, they're doing it. And they're being brainwashed to believe that's better than groundwater. I even asked them, I said, if I shit and piss in a cup, will you drink it? And they said, yes, if it's filtered. That's disturbing. And this is the kind of stuff like research and all these things you're going to do, academic research related to county programs, activities, and responsibilities, who provide strategic guidance and recommendations on research priorities, impact assessment, program design, monitor and evaluation research methodologies, data and science and technology, performance analytics, and any related guiding regarding covered county process and procedures. And you want to have 13 members, only 7 are required to be in San Diego, which is great, right? Because then you can allow for national or worldwide leaders. Let's bring in Klaus, Nathan. You probably talk to him every day. Why don't you just bring him on in here? I mean, because what we're doing is already a global takeover, and it's treason. So glad you're still here with your scruffy beard. But it's just sad that you have these people doing this kind of research, right? And we talk about the vaccines killing people, but yet, why would they look into that? You would think that you would be like, hey, let's look into the things that are not going right, that could be killing people, because we're talking about, you know, being safe and everything and all this. It's total bullshit. So you have these people doing this that are going to bring in stuff to indoctrinate children, make people think that they want to drink sewer water because they think it's cleaner than groundwater. The kind of stuff that you guys do is totally bullshit, and you're making people brainwash.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you, Audra. Now we'll hear from the individual that requested to speak by phone.
This is Truth, and you know where to find me every Tuesday morning. Going against Nora's nonsense. Paul, equity is a nice word for segregation. And Joel, did you say that the county's numbers are lying garbage? I agree. And wow, Ricardo, you wasted your time and energy making that presentation we'll never see. That sucks. The County Office of Evaluation, Performance, and Analytics will be working with external academics, researchers, and technical advisors that could be worldwide fastest business stakeholders. This item's attachment BL says, quote, current provisions of the Brown Act make it challenging for the EAC to include members who reside outside the county, even though the ordinance itself only requires 7 to be current county residents. Because some of the policy issues likely to be studied, climate change, social determinants of health, do not necessarily require local expertise. It can include national or worldwide leaders in those policy areas, end quote. These little traders don't even want to hire Americans for these academic, research, and technical advisor jobs. But Nathan, what about the American veterans you pretend to care about who are looking for jobs? And all of you supervisors, what about all the homeless people you fail to house who could use one of these jobs? Are neither of these categories of people you all pretend to care about not qualified? Oh, I know what it is. You require good little Tovarishi to provide the numbers to sell the climate change cult and the mythical social determinants of health, where an individual is not responsible for their own body. No, according to the CDC, things like racism cause bad health, not the toxic COVID shots they push, or even McDonald's. It's pathetic how desperate you supervisors and all the bad guys are to push the destruction of our country that you're literally going to change the Brown Act in order to hire foreign mercenaries for the climate cult job destruction. Talk about overt treason.
Thank you.
Noted as
Time is
item.
up.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and please silence your phones. The next item on the agenda, we're going to go ahead and go to item 19 since we have a couple of folks who have been waiting for a while. And the item is ending veteran homelessness in San Diego County. I want to say thank you to Supervisor Fletcher for co-docketing this item and for leading the way on this. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we're going to have.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Vargas. I appreciate your partnership in bringing this forward. Our efforts around homelessness are designed to try and get everyone a chance and opportunity to get off the streets, not only for those individuals, but for the overall health of our communities and our small businesses, and we certainly continue in that work. It continues to be frustrating as we see, despite the number we get off, more people becoming homeless at a rapid rate, but all of those efforts need to continue full speed ahead. But an area where we have seen some progress in the last 4 years is actually our efforts around getting homeless veterans off the streets. In the last 4 years, we've seen about a 30% reduction in the number of homeless veterans across San Diego County. And while that is encouraging, and we wait to see the latest numbers on the point-in-time count that was just conducted, while that's encouraging, that is not a trajectory that actually gets to ending veteran homelessness. It's a trajectory that will continue to show progress, but never get us to that point. And the veterans population is unique. It's very common for people to say thank you for your service. But I think that needs to actually mean something. And in this effort, I think that means us willing to put together a dedicated effort, a focused plan, and the accountability of coming forward and saying the goal is very simple, achieving the VA standard for getting to functional zero and effectively ending veteran homelessness in San Diego County. For that to happen is going to require a number of things. This is a population that has some unique resources. The Veterans Administration, many years ago, changed the policy from merely addressing veteran homelessness to ending veteran homelessness. Secretary McDonough, President Biden have taken additional steps, some of which I think we'll hear about tonight, around specific things they're willing to do, funding they're willing to provide, support that is made available to local jurisdictions that is unique and special to veterans. Here in San Diego, we have a very aggressive and engaged VA office locally. And so I believe that there is the path for us if we can get all of these pieces aligned. We have a lot of different folks that are engaged and involved in the issue of veteran homelessness that do a piece of it. And I believe it's time we convene those folks together. We come up with an accurate number of what the actual number we're trying to solve is, a by-name list, and then we figure out every person in that coalition and what is their role and what is their responsibility in actually getting us the goal of zero. And we set a timeline. We want to do it by this date to put the tremendous pressure on each and every one of us who's a member of that. And every month we share those results. What are the numbers? If it got worse, then we say it got worse. If people got shelter but not housed, and we say they got shelter, not housed. If they got permanently housed, we say they got housed. And how does that compare to our overall trajectory? But in order to do this, I think our county needs to step up and embrace the obligation to end veteran homelessness and to make sure our county staff are available to work and assist in these convenings and these efforts. We have great excitement from the Regional Task Force on the Homelessness, from a lot of nonprofit providers. Obviously, here at the county, we have our own Office of Military and Veterans Affairs, which can help in getting veterans connected to the VA services they need. We We have our housing authority where we hold VASH vouchers. We have innovative programs like we launched the C3V program for justice-involved veterans, the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Martinez is interested in what else they might be able to do. Probation folks are interested in what else they may be able to do. Behavioral health and so many others. And so today's action is us as a county committing ourselves to this goal and ensuring that our county staff are there to be able to support this effort. And I think this is an area, and again, we care about everyone and all of the overall efforts will continue. But this is something I'm personally interested in and invested in and coming together to see real progress on achieving that standard of Indian veteran homelessness in San Diego. And so I appreciate Chair Vargas, your support in bringing this forward together, and I hope my colleagues will be supportive as we move forward. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'm happy to second that motion. And I think we said this during the State of the County, right? That there are so many folks who've given so much to our country, and they absolutely should not be unhoused. And so everything that we can do, I'm happy to support you in your leadership on this role. So with that, why don't we go ahead into public comment?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 15 requests to speak on item 19, 8 in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 2 e-comments, 1 in favor and 1 in opposition. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Any individuals who requested to speak by phone on item 19, please call into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll start with the speakers in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall. I'd like to invite Catherine Rhodes, Bruce Karen, and Vic Martin, as well as Wilford Smith. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi, Catherine Rhodes. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you. You know, I'm not sure if you know, but in 2008, I actually came up with the idea of VASH vouchers. I came to the county, I came to Veterans Village because Phil Landis lived right next to me. So I would always talk to the head of VA, the head of HUD, everybody, and say, you guys, you know, what I said is, you guys created this new problem to end chronic homelessness by 2015, and you gave vouchers for it. I said, why don't we do the same thing for veterans and get vouchers from the Veterans Administration and not take it out of their budget, but give them extra budget so they could have these vouchers. So 100,000 veterans have been helped because I came here with a little idea, just like I talk about the ARPA funds, and somebody took it seriously. Thank goodness. So what I want to say is Miramar Naval Air Base. I've been trying to get the Flying Leatherneck Museum for veterans for such a while, and I know how to do it. What you do is you get a lease, specifically similar to your lease that you have for Miramar for the gun shooting range for the sheriffs, similar to the cemetery lease. And so so I went through all their paperwork, all their documentations. The only decision maker is the base commander. You have to talk to the base commander. The base commander says, yes, we could do it. You could do it right away. And then I want to go back to what people said that they wanted. They wanted a place of their own. So I think you should give them tiny homes or trailers that they get to own. They want to be able to stay with family members. They want to be able to have dogs. You know, you guys had a survey of what people want. Just give them what they want. You have the ARPA funds right now. You could just say, hey, let's just use some of these ARPA funds just to get it started before you try to backfill. Same with the immigrants. Use the ARPA funds now and then backfill it with any FEMA funds that you could get in the future. But thank you so much. I think this is fabulous.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite forward the speakers in opposition, Audra, Mark, Paul Henkin, and Consuelo.
Mark, well, if you actually cared, it would have been easy, and would be easy now to end the veteran homelessness as well as all the other homeless. Because in a separate account, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, this is a subsidiary corporation of California. California is a subsidiary of the U.S. And they have perhaps 40 times as much money as the entire budget in a separate account. They're not sharing with you. They've taken our tax dollars and our parents' and our grandparents' tax dollars and invested in corporations. In fact, every morning, like this morning, you see them partnering with organizations. And it's the most fascist thing ever. And of course, they have CEOs making millions of dollars off it and all kinds of middlemen and people doing studies, getting paid, and consultants, et cetera, et cetera. Also, consultants from outside our country have no interest, which is what the founding fathers warned about, is people from afar that aren't affected ruling over you. So, but it'd be easy if they were to divide the shares of all the corporations they own stock in among all the American citizens equally. Every American citizen would have perhaps $1.3 to $500 million worth of the best stock in the world, and there would be no homeless people, and everybody would be doing really well. Also, it would be easy to just have $7,500, $1,000 each, 10 by 10 3D printed structures on Fiesta Island. It'd take up about 1/8 of the island, and instead, their solutions are always, this is Hegelian dialectic, by the way, that problem, reaction, solution. There's a problem, or they make a problem. This is a real problem they've created. And then they come up with their bullshit solution, which is to subsidize a bunch of $800,000 apartments with our taxpayer dollar. That's unsustainable. They really need well-paying jobs from the corporations, but they're not going to do that. They want the U.S. to fail. They want us to become the North American Union, and they're making a fortune selling us out. And now I'm out of money, out of time, just like they want.
Next speaker, please.
Paul Henkin. Hi, Supervisors. This is a great idea, ending veteran homelessness in the county. But at some point, we have to realize that we have too many homeless to pick out just a few for special treatment. Veterans are not the only ones who have, quote, proven qualities that add value to our society. There are many people like that. Of course, we want to help our deserving vets, and this is where giving them jobs now would be better than waiting for homeless housing, which is coming slowly, maybe a few hundred units a year. You know, it's almost as bad as planting 3,500 trees to replace the 50,000 which die each year. Please focus on one homeless plan which actually works. Thank you. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Final call for Consuelo and Audra, as well as Bruce, Karen, Vic Martin, and Wilford Smith.
You know my name. I use the pronouns taco, burrito, nachos. Man, it would be great if you guys actually did the stuff that you talk about, because it's like you put it in a pretty package. It's like, oh my gosh, I want that. That looks so great. Unfortunately, nothing ever happens. How long have the homeless been having these issues, right? And the veterans and all these people, and you know, when we did the by count, point in time count, I mean, they said there is no shelter. There is nowhere for these people to go. And so they're asking me, it's like, I didn't even have any information. I'm like, I don't even know where you go to get help. You guys should be telling people that, instead of just giving some card to be like, here you go, let me appease you right now. But there's nowhere for them to go, yet we're talking about the border and housing these people instantly and giving them transportation. Yet the people here on the streets are suffering and nothing is being done. And the way that you guys like take so long to have a project be done, I mean, it takes you like forever to build something. So you talk about wanting to help, and then you get millions of dollars that basically goes into your pockets to create a new program or do this or do that. And it doesn't help the issue. But you're sitting here and you're like, let's home the immigrants. What about our own people? Like, you sit here and act like you want to help. It would be great if we did. But every time I go talk to the homeless, the only help you're giving them is you're giving them a vaccine and dropping them back off where they freaking were. Like, that's not helping. And then you'd have to do that to these immigrants or people seeking asylum. Like, that's a priority over helping them. It's ridiculous, and it's sad. I gave out bags of food to people, like 20 of them, to the people that I found, and they were so happy to get it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Bruce Caron. I'm 76 years old. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was part of this. I was homeless for downtown for 2.5 years. There's things that can be done and that are being done, but we have to be more better at what we're doing. Right? The commitment, like I have told Supervisor Fletcher a couple weeks ago, I'm all in. I'm a veteran, so I know what the systems can do when the right systems are in place. You've all done your good job. But right now, we really have to concentrate and let's get on the map. Let's make San Diego a model. As I said, my commitment to Supervisor Fletcher, always there. Chairman Vargas, I'd like to give my commitment as a senior, right? I am a senior advocate. If I can help you or the county, I'd be more willing to. God bless. Good to see you, Nathan.
Next speaker, please.
Consuelo, I'm all for doing what we can to help the homeless brothers and sisters. Understand this, the only help government will ever give to this issue is contributing to perpetuate it, not solve it. There's nothing to be solved. Government is the reason why these problems exist. Throughout history, they've never made things better. Just look at what's happened within the past few years of the scamdemic. We now have a way bigger problem due to their mishandlings of it all. With all the taxes they've collected from us, they could have easily already helped the homeless wanting help. All the small businesses who were affected too. But they didn't. Why? Because it's a part of the plan. It's the agenda, 2030, death to the hardworking upper and middle classes. You see it, it's happening, been happening. Look around you, open your eyes, unplug your TVs. Why is it so hard to accept? Things are not getting better, government is only getting bigger. Government is not, have not, and never will be the solution. They create the problems in order to appear as the heroes. They thrive on an ignorant, consumed, obedient, and dependent society, a society which asks no questions, a society who's reliant on them for everything, a society who praises and looks up to them. Above all, a society who is not paying attention. The majority of people living here do not even know who the hell Nathan Fletcher, Nora Vargas, or any of these public servants are, truth be told. But the ones paying close attention know who every paid shill and puppet are. Government does not give two flying fucks about you or your well-being. Government cares only that you pay them their taxes and abide by their bullshit. It's not easy standing up to big bully government, but what's the alternative? Continue on their hamster wheel in the rat race to Nowheresville, being a slave to a life you hate, a life you have very little control over? No.
We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll start with our first caller.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Jordan Bean, and I'm the Director of Policy and Communications for the Regional Task Force on Homelessness. RTFH is excited to be a part of this incredibly important initiative to end veteran homelessness in our region, brought forward by Supervisor Fletcher and Chair Vargas. Those who have served deserve, at a minimum, a roof over their heads for all they've done for our country, especially in a military community like San Diego. Reducing veteran homelessness has been a small bright spot in a sea of sobering news when it comes to homelessness in our county, but we need to do so much more. For instance, there are a number of veterans with fully funded housing resources simply need someone to open a door for them, yet can't find that in a tough housing market. This kind of initiative will put a spotlight on this issue and help close those gaps. This population has long needed a champion to lead the way on this important issue, and we're so thrilled to see this board take it head on. We at RTFH stand ready to be a part of this coalition and look forward to the next steps that lead to the end of veteran homelessness in San Diego County. And I hope all of our supervisors will support this effort as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. This is Zach Schlegel calling on behalf of PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. As you may know, PATH holds the HUD-VASH contract for San Diego County, along with an array of other veteran-specific programs. San Diego's made great strides in addressing veteran homelessness. Despite the pandemic, we saw a 30% drop since 2020, with only 9% of our homeless population identifying as veterans. This progress has happened thanks to the VA, with the support of the federal government and local leaders, who have moved deliberately over the past decade to provide greater investment and coordination on this issue. Yet, more work is needed. It's unacceptable for those who bravely serve our country to end up on the street. We're fully supportive of Supervisor Fletcher's motion and eager to be an active part of the coalition to identify and implement solutions. Getting to functional zero on veteran homelessness is possible. We can only do this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Truth. We get item 19 instead of 14 because Nora's friends were waiting. Talk about corrupt. I got a difficult question. Almost as difficult as when I asked which one's more racist. The environment, climate, COVID, or racism? Okay, supervisors, my question is, which group is more important to end homelessness for? Asylum seekers and refugees or veterans? And are there more veterans in the county or more undocumented asylum seekers and refugees? We have the veterans numbers at 250,000, but the other numbers seem to be allowed to be unknown and to continuously grow. What a conundrum. This item says veterans may have trouble transitioning to civilian life, finding fruitful careers after service, and receiving the health care needed to manage trauma. Well, maybe you supervisors should stop supporting the VA, which has had scandal after scandal of intentionally allowing and or causing veterans to die, either by waiting for care, denying disability claims, prescribing known toxic pill combinations, or by allowing UCSD quacks to perform surgeries on veteran patients without their proper consent. But despite me stating those truths, what do Nathan and Nora want in this item? Recommendation number 2 says direct the CAO, Helen, to work externally with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I guess we can all expect more veteran deaths, especially when you supervisors refuse to address the addiction issues that many veterans suffer with. You all know that building housing won't solve that. And now Nathan wants to track veterans with a by-name list. So un-American. I'll leave you all with words from James Madison at the Virginia Convention in 1788. Quote, I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpation. End quote. That's what we're seeing in
Thank
all
you, Chairwoman Vargas. That concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, now I'm confused because I could vote.
Go ahead. We'll wait and vote.
Hey, first of all, thank you both for bringing this forward. I think it's absolutely fantastic. One of the concerns I had that perhaps staff could look at when moving forward is access and prevention. You know, we have a North County Military and Veterans Affairs Resource Center. We have a coastal and inland one in North County. We have one in South Bay. And yet one of the largest populations of veterans is in East County. And we have, you all voted to support it, and I appreciate that. So we've already said that we're committed to it. But when we go through this analysis, when you think in terms of prevention, when you think in terms of access, we may want to speed up that timeline of moving this project forward if it proves to be valuable to veterans. And so I just wanted that as part of the consideration moving forward. Thank you very much, and great work.
With that, go ahead and vote.
Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We're going to go ahead and take a lunch break. We'll be back at 1:15 and take on the rest of the items. Thank you.
Gagans a path to good health. That includes getting food, housing, and healthcare to people in need.